Hey, welcome back, welcome back. So we just did some little bit of Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages. It's gonna be a sequential series, Oracle of Ages and Seasons. So, dude, it's been fun and exciting getting back into that. And I'm kind of beat, but I still want to stream. So I'm thinking I want to do something a little more chill. So I think it's about that time, dude. It's time for us to return to reading the SCP Containment Breach. No, SCP Foundation Wiki. Holy shit, I forgot to even update going live here. I was so distracted with feeding myself, dude. But yeah, dude, we're gonna be getting back into the SCP Foundation Wiki. I think it'll be a little bit of a fun experiment series, you know? We're already on episode? Well, I guess, yeah, episode 2, part 2. This would be the third one now, of course. And entry number 21 is where we'd be starting next. It's been very interesting so far in the aspect that I get to read to you guys and I also get to read it myself. I don't remember how far I got last time. Maybe like 150, and then I just started randomizing and gave up. So I'm kind of far behind whenever it comes to this. I don't know. I think it's going to be fun. And yeah, it's sort of just a watch along, listen along, read along experience. You guys don't have to do too much. It's just listening to the content. And I guess you can read along too if you'd like. But yeah, like I said, we're going to start this back up, starting with 21. But I'm going to go ahead and randomize it right away. So, last time we did it right at the end. And this time, yeah, I think I'm going to do it first. Just get something completely random. And, you know, we'll be able to check it out sequentially, as in 001 onward, as well as just random ones, because there's some late game stuff that's probably way cooler than some of the early game stuff. So just give me a second, I want to send this tweet out. Can't believe I said SCP Containment Breach. I do want to play that at some point, but not anytime soon. I think it'll be fun to check out, though. So yeah, welcome back. It's time for some reading. So yeah, we'll get to 21 in a second. Like I said, excuse me, this is where we left off. But yeah, I'd like to check out a random first. So let's do this. Random SCP. Alright, 4058. This is kind of lower on the scale from what we've seen so far. I appreciate it. I did want something a little closer to 001 than what we've been getting. Just give me a second here to clear my throat and get a drink. And yeah, we've been doing 10 a time so far with the random one. So, I don't know. We'll see. If I hit the 2-hour mark and we've already hit 10, then who knows? Maybe I'll read some more random ones. Alright, here's the full page for you really quick. And let's zoom on in. By the way, I've said this before, but I just play music along with this. Makes it more interesting, and it's my personally curated playlist of music, so I hope you enjoy. Okay, I'm hitting the wrong coordinate there. We need left side. I adjust this on the fly every time because apparently OBS has an issue with capturing many sources at once. Like if you just leave active sources in the background disabled, you can still experience lag with it. So yeah, I have to delete and recreate the source every time. Okay, so this is SCP-4058. Here's the image for it. What was the description say? The Thomas Jefferson Building main reading room. All individuals pictured are Foundation agents enacting Operation LeVar Burton. Alright, let's get a bit of a closer in picture on this, shall we? So it looks to be like just a common town hall or maybe a library. I'd say most likely a library, just looking at the wreathed ornament pictures on the ground. Looks like it's made out of carpet for the floor. Interesting pattern dotted throughout the carpet. And it looks like just a lot of circular tables, or I guess angled tables lined around the central library area in a circle. A concentric circle of chairs and tables. Looks like each chair-table combo has its own lights, too, so maybe that's a reflection, I don't know. It's a very ornate building. It definitely looks like a Capitol building or something. And in the distance, through the windows, we can see more books or stock or something. Main entrance or exit over there with the, I guess you could call this red carpet. Metaphorically, it is a gray with red outlined and then green outlined carpet. I don't know what to say about this. I guess these are Foundation members. Yeah, it looks just like a typical library. There's an insignia at the top of the central library partition. It looks like a scale, maybe? And over the left looks like a typical gift shop of like a library or a government building or something, I don't know. Alright, let's zoom back in, start the music. Okay, 4058, item number 4058, object class safe. Special containment procedures. Foundation assets have been tasked with keeping libraries and other collections of physical literary materials worldwide below a threshold item count, above which 4058 becomes audible. Per Operation Reading Rainbow. What? Really? Like actual LeVar Burton reference? Books and physical copies of documents in the Foundation's possession are to be accumulated at the Central Resource Nolan People's Library at Site 19. Following clarification of the above threshold count and large-scale reproduction of 4058, items are to be returned to their original sites or be redistributed according to Foundation literary vacancies. Incoming additions to the Foundation's literary collection are to be allocated by the same considerations. A dedicated staff of D-Class as well as multilingual scholars are to be deployed to the Library of Congress per Operation LeVar. Please refer to that operation's charter for additional details. Description 4058 is an emergent acoustic phenomenon exclusive to the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. Captured examples of 4058 can be sampled in the Site 19 audio library. Okay, it looks like the right-hand side is a little too cropped. Hold on. Need to get better at this. Just don't want to see, like, the scroll bar, I guess. I don't know. Like, right here is fine. Whatever. Staff and patrons of the Library of Congress describe a gradual onset of faint, droning sounds within the library beginning sometime after May 2018 and developing over the course of several weeks. The sounds have since become louder and increasingly disruptive, interrupting operations and discouraging patronage to such an extent as to compromise budgeting and projected funding from the US government. What, the fucking building's possessed by a ghost and now we can't do government? Station audio recording equipment and pilotless trials in the library have confirmed that 4058 occurs only when an individual is present. Was the ghost of fucking Abraham Lincoln? Transcripts and documentation. A. Initial meeting and observations display audio transcript. Okay, that's a JavaScript. Oh, duh, it's a fucking transcript. Silly me. Okay, forward. After in-house maintenance and the library's engineers could not find or suggest a source of the sound, the Foundation was alerted to the phenomenon by an embedded executive who also contacted the Unusual Incidents Unit branch of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A premier firm of acousticians, one representative sent, was consulted at the behest of the executive staff. The Foundation approved the collaboration, given clearance from the Ethics Committee that the acoustician be amnesticized by any means necessary in the event of a classified information breach. The following are excerpts from conversations between the team members. Present company includes Agent Wells, recording via an attached condenser mic, acoustician Dr. Kaya Fulfolha, PhD, and Agents Drummel and Silas of the UIU. Extraneous dialogue has been removed and indicated accordingly. The team enters the building from the 1st Street southeast entrance and into the library's mezzanine. A droning sound is picked up on the condenser mic as they enter. Begin log. Agent Drummel, I thought libraries were supposed to be havens for peace and quiet. Agent Silas, it has to be a good 70 decibels. What would you say, Doctor? Dr. Fulfolia. Let me check. That really stumbled me. Dr. Fulfolia. Let me check. Shuffling of clothes can be heard, followed by clicks. 63.5 decibels. Drummel. Not bad, Catherine. Silas. It was a cinch. You're an easy 70 almost all the time, and it's about that annoying in here. Drummel. Yeah, well, the patrons seem to agree there's no one here. Wells. Except for our hostess. Footsteps are heard approaching, echoing through the large room. Carla D. Hayden. Footnote 1. The 14th Librarian of Congress. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all so much for coming today. Drummel, huh? Carla D. Hayden. Yes, I know, it is bad. It's actually a bit quieter in here than elsewhere in the library, I assure you. And also a bit quieter than the noise from the street outside. Sorry to meet you all under such uncomfortable conditions, but we appreciate your help and desperately need it. This is killing the library. Wells, happy to be here. Carla D. Hayden. I wanted to meet you all together, as I believe you can benefit from each other. Is there anything I can explain further that might help you? Dr. Fulfolia. We had spoken earlier about schematics. Carla D. Hayden. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Those will be made available to you within the hour. Drummel. I think I've heard enough. Silas. Start acting like a professional, please. Drummel. Yes, ma'am. We'll begin immediately. Carla D. Hayden. Yes, thank you. The staff has been made aware of your presence. Please don't hesitate to contact me or my team for help. Thank you all again. Per Agent Wells, at this time, Dr. Fulfolia began unpacking a carry-all bag and assembling an array of standing microphones around the mezzanine and the surrounding rooms. Agent Drummel, Silas, and Wells began walking the library. Drummel. So what do you think all this is, hearing it in person now? Silas. It sounds like a paper factory, but it could still be a lot of explainable things. Drummel. Oh, like what? Silas. Hums like these are common in electrical systems, especially those housed in aged structural components, both of which are ubiquitous in this library. It's saying like the columns could be, I don't know, like granite-lined columns with weird electrics lined through it, causing like a hum or something. Drummel. Sure, but they shut off the electricity briefly last week, and the sounds remain. Silas. That might not rule out the effects of capacitance. Enough charge from the constant stream of supplied electricity over the last 100 years stored on big enough capacitors could still be shedding some of the energy via sound. Or what about seismic waves and their potential reverberation with the architecture of the structure? It acting as a kind of echo chamber. There's got to be a natural frequency to this library as a whole. Hit it with the right wavelength of sound waves and it can cause a number of overtones. Drummel. But the subsoil of this region isn't conducive to such complete propagation of sound waves, nor is seismic activity a concern here. Silas. Right, the library must be on an ancient burial ground then. Look, it's no complete theory, not yet. It's mere shooting in the dark because there isn't any other rational explanation to move forward with. We'll need more data. Our acoustician friend should help with that. I'm not convinced that because the civil engineers couldn't find a source, we should be looking for something preternatural. And I hate that you pushed that agenda so quickly out of the gate with our esteemed colleague. I don't think he was impressed. Drummel. Alright, my turn. What about the mosaic of Minerva there at the entrance? Silas, what about it? Drummel. Did her presence inspire any ideas as to what might be going on? Wells. Minerva is the Roman goddess of wisdom. Seems like her placement here is explained easily enough. Drummel. Yes, she is, but what's less known is that she's also the sponsor of strategic warfare. According to the myth, she was born in battle armor, for crying out loud. I said that so weird. According to the myth, she was born in battle armor, for crying out loud. She lived inside Jupiter, her mother having been swallowed by him, and it was said she was the source of a constant pounding and ringing to such an agonizing extent that Jupiter commissioned the iron god Vulcan to craft a hammer and split Jupiter's head open and release her from within him. Silas, I fail to see the connection. Drummel, what if we are Vulcan here? Or better yet, the hammer? Silas, out of the millions of documents and countless mythos contained in this library, you think that the entirety of the events occurring here can be pinned down to a few sentences tangentially ascribed to Minerva? Drummel, but that's my point, Catherine. Ideas can manifest in physical ways when they become crowded. How many thoughts can you simultaneously fit inside your head, for example, before it manifests as a headache? Has it ever been asked, what happens when you physically amass such a massive collection of ideas? Do they, like the ideas in our minds, begin to compete with one another for space? A kind of warfare for their actualization in the real world? I think it's no mistake that this phenomenon is happening here, in the largest library in the world. And it might not be Minerva herself, but I don't think we're going to find answers in the acoustics of the building, the reverberation capacity of the solid media, or in the electrical circuits. Silas. It's poetic, and it's true that only a certain amount of data can be present before an event horizon, but I don't think abstract ideas work in the same way, and I certainly don't think they are alive, warring with one another. Drummel. Maybe not ideas themselves, but they are a germinal form of all living things and actions. Once you, Catherine, were just a thought, like me, like all of us. Any structure, government, movement, whether artistic or political, all wants only an idea. What if what's manifesting here is another type or species of germinated thought? Silas, I'm not sure what you're getting at. Drummel, what about you, Agent Wells? What do you think? Wells, I think the noise got a lot quieter when we passed the Hispanic reading room. Drummel, you sure? Wells, let's see. The agents turn and walk towards the Hispanic reading room. 4058 notably diminishes in volume. Drummel, well, I'll be. Wells, I couldn't help but notice after I turned you two out. Drummel, I wish I could do that. That's a gift. Silas, what do you think it means? Wells, I don't know. That it is not a constant volume throughout the library could support your theory of capacitance or reverberation. I can't think of a reason why European ideas would be fighting with each other more than Hispanic ones, though. Silas, what are you doing, Agent Wells? Wells, inspecting the bookshelves themselves. We've seen such things at the Foundation, you know. The agents are radioed and asked to head towards the mezzanine to reconvene with Dr. Fulfolia. Agent Wells, Doctor, I don't mean to be presumptive, but I believe they've recorded some samples already. Fulfolia, yes, they have. It's noise map. I'm noise mapping. I'm taking sound pictures, essentially, in order to model the propagation of the noise generated by whatever it is making this sound. Wells, any chance it will tell you the source? Fulfolia, not exactly. This is primarily for predicting the events of noise mitigation strategies that I'll recommend later. My role here is more prescriptive than it is investigatory. After I model the acoustic performance of this building, I could theoretically postulate sound sources and see if the expected behavior matches the pictures of what we're observing here, but... Silas, but what? Fulfolia. As far as the detection of a sound source goes, no technology is even remotely close or will be in the distant future to what you and I have already brought to the table. Ears. Silas, I see. Do you need any help? Fulfolia. Frankly, I do. This will take some time, but this is a one-person job, I'm afraid. Besides, it's necessary that I have a sterile environment, and that means we'll all have to exit the building for me to complete the mapping. Wells, would it be okay if we're on another floor? Fulfolia, the basements would be acceptable, I suppose? Drummel, before we go, we noticed some significant discrepancies in volume regarding the noise back there. Any idea what might be causing that? Fulfolia, sounds like it could be negative interference. The sound waves hitting each other in a way that provides some cancellation. Could be a function of the immediate environment. Temperature, humidity, even the materials of the books within the individual rooms can contribute to the changes in acoustic performance for the same sound. Where did you notice this? Wells, near the Hispanic reading room. Fulfolia, get back to me about it. I'll see if the sound models include that bit. The agents locate the entrance to the basement levels, however, this entrance is locked with a security gate. Drummel. Excuse me, hello. My name is Agent Drummel, this is Agent Silas and Agent Wells. We're hoping to gain access to the basement. Librarian. I'm sorry, the basement is off limits to patrons. Agents Drummel and Silas produce their FPI badges. Drummel. We'd appreciate it. Librarian. Right this way. Agent Wells, quietly, to Agent Silas. Must be nice. The agents gain access to the basement. Agent Drummel. So, what is down here? Librarian. On B1, some very important stuff. Original manuscripts, the original library of Thomas Jefferson, presidential memoirs dating back to George Washington. Do be careful, please. B2 is where we keep the oldest, most valuable items, like original vellum artifacts and other things of the utmost historical significance. Wells, has anyone been down in the basement since this began? Librarian, yes, Mrs. Hayden and a few others a couple days ago. They didn't find anything unusual, I don't believe. Well, unusual for these circumstances, I guess. Oh, speaking of which, you reminded me. Down there, it's damaging. Here, take these. The librarian hands the agents noise-dampening earphones. The agents thank her and descend the staircase into B1. As they descend, the condenser microphone is overwhelmed by a markedly louder droning noise. Only a partial transcript is possible during this time. Silas, what? Endless bookshelves. Drummel, small portion of the 800 plus miles. Well, why is it so much louder here? Could the source be here? Silas, let's keep walking, maybe. After coursing the level, the agents have no leads as to a source and are at a loss to how to proceed. Agent Wells inspects the bookshelves again, accidentally knocking a volume off in the process, which opens as it hits the floor. Drummel, what did you... Wells, I noticed something odd when I read this page. Look. Silas, a treatise on phlogiston? I don't see... Specifically speaking. Wells, read some of it. Silas, God. Drummel, who's we hearing? Wells, I don't know. Is it the same for you two? Drummel, it's White British Wells, the author checks out. Silas, I can't... Saying, though, muddled. Drummel, well, this... Something. At this time, Agent Wells' time collects the books and motions to the UIU agents to leave. They walk up the staircase and return the headphones to the librarian. Excuse me, librarian, excuse me, but those books are not for checking out. Agent Wells, contact Mrs. Hayden. Tell her it's Agent Wells. Librarian, ringing. Hello? Hey, it's me. Could you tell James that I need to get a message, a question to Mrs. Hayden? It's about the investigation. Yes, the agents. They want to take some items from the B1 with them. I don't know. No, it is Agent Wells. Wells. Yes, I'll wait. Okay. Hangs up. Well, have a nice day, Agent Wells. Wells. Thank you, you too. Silas. Must be nice. And log. Okay. Lots of creative writing here. Alright, transcripts and documentation. 1B, digital correspondence display files. The following is a series of emails sent between members of the collaborative team. To M. Wells at blank from JMD003 at blank. Subject, forward. Models, Library of Congress. Wells, unlikely. He really isn't saying anything at all in that statement. I think some people don't want to believe. Anyway, Agent Silas was able to unstrike through, obtain Dr. Acoustician's models. I got another buddy of mine to simulate Dr. Fullivit's project. Gave him a copy of the schematics we'd received from Carla, and had him assign an arbitrary decibel level value to each room, creating clusters of sound based on their artificial book counts per room, and then compared his results with caves. They're almost identical overlays. When I scanned in, computer programs could only find a 0.42% discrepancy. I've included the results. Forwarded message. To C. Fulfolia at blank from JMD003 at blank. Dr. Fulfolio, it was a pleasure working with you this past week at the Library of Congress. I'm writing to inquire about the mapping models you produced, the ones your recommendations to the library were based on. Did you happen to find anything that reproduced the volume discrepancies in them? Both the ones on the main floor and the ones mentioned to you in the basement? Thank you, Jeffrey Drummel. To JMD003 at blank from C. Fulfolia at blank. Jeffrey, based on the data I collected, I have to say that an internal source is unlikely. The discrepancies you and your team noted were not accounted for on the models. I noticed that there were several windows in the areas you mentioned, and upon asking that the staff intermittently opens them per patron request, barring the weather. I also noticed that the library is surrounded by multiple 4-lane roads which are constantly populated with cars. Wonder if anyone on your team noticed if these were open or cracked. Cordially, Keith. To C. Fulfolia at blank from JMD003 at blank. Did you try simulating the books themselves as the sources of the sounds? Respectfully, Drummel. To JMD003 from C. Fulfolia, no. Respectfully, CF. I thought it was Keith, whatever. To C. Fulfolia at blank from JMD003 at blank. Can I ask why not, Drummel? To JMD003 at blank from C. Fulfolia at blank. Sure, because that is ridiculous. To a C. Fulfolia from JMD. I bet if you input the books as the source of the sounds, you'll have an exact match. Drummel. To JMD from C. Fulfolia. I'm more afraid of encouraging your particular beliefs than discovering something paranormal about all this. Besides, I would be pigeonholing the data too much at that point. You'd get exactly what you want to see, and it would only be confirmation bias. I don't care if the model would match up exactly. The idea that the sound could be from the books is unscientific, and frankly, you're not doing a service to your department or the FBI for that matter in this pursuit. Okay? Like, goddamn, calm down. To C. Fulfolia from JMD. What about the fact that the sound doesn't occur unless someone is in the building? To JMD from C. Fulfolia. I admit there are some aspects to this case that I don't quite understand, and some psychoacoustics at play that may exceed my expertise. But have me put in a report to both my firm and the Library of Congress that there are supernatural elements here is equal to academic suicide. Besides, I don't believe it. I don't have an answer, but a lack of it doesn't verify anything else either. I've made my recommendations in order to dampen the sound, and that's as far as I need to go. To JMD from M. Wells. Jeff, Sorry you were called back so quickly. At least he's not putting his head in the sand completely. We weren't able to make any progress with B2. The sound was just too loud. My people are reorganizing a task force is apparently equipped for such environments, if you can believe it. Thank you for the models. They should be instrumental in developing a plan to deal with the noise on our end. I'm going to recommend something of a mix of your theory and my own for testing designs. We'll be in touch. Wells. Okay, transcripts and documentation. 1C MTF Beta 14 Exploration Log. Access transcripts. They sent MTF Task Force into this. The Foundation consigned the mobilization of Mobile Task Force Beta 14, Hear No Evil. A task force utilized in environments where silence is imperative or that precludes the use of audio communication. To complete a thorough investigation of the second basement level, which exceeded decibel levels sufficient to result in permanent hearing loss. The following is a transcription from video recording devices. Unit Mobile Task Force Beta 14 Hear No Evil. Personnel Beta 1 Lead, Beta 2, Beta 3, Beta 4. Objective to sweep the second basement floor in the Library of Congress, documenting anomalous phenomenon therein, and making as-needed decisions with regard to potential containment of any such phenomena. Forward, the MTF is comprised of deaf members who communicate via American Sign Language. Oh, that's cool. With the assistance of shared self-facing video feeds. Command, represented by a Foundation interpreter, also assists in relaying communications. An interpreter has reviewed the video footage and confirmed any questions with the team members. Begin log. Beta 1, final check. Command, do you copy? Command, copy, lead. You and your team are go. Beta 1, okay. Beta 4, I'm already spooked. That librarian won't stop staring at us. Beta 3, it's not every day that what looks to be a SWAT team raids a library. Beta 4, I think it's because we're just so good looking. Beta 1, alright team, eyes forward and on your screens. Beta 2, okay. Beta 3, okay. Beta 4, DIDDLY. Alright, Beta 4 is the jokester, huh? Beta 1, 4, please, let's move. 3, you take the left. 4, you to the right. And 2, you caboose it. 2, still. Fuck, I need to work on that. 2, still? Why don't I just take the 4 designation then? 4, that wouldn't work because then you'd be B4. 3, cut the banter, fall in. Let's get this done with so I can see the game on time. Command, lead, what does your team see? 1. Rows of card catalogs, item containers, and of course books that look very, very old. Typical, except there has to be several hundred shelves down here. Thousands of individual items, maybe. Team, split up and maintain visuals with one another amid the rows. If not, then on screen. Light up if you see something odd or find yourself in danger. The force continues towards the north wall, members each taking separate aisles of shelves. As with previous attempts, efforts to locate a possible source are unremarkable. 1. Nothing here from what we can see, Command. Command, lead, can you and your team pick up... Lead, can you and your team each pick up a text and read it, please? 1. Okay. The task force members each silently select a nearby text from the shelves and begin to read. Command, anything odd going on? The task force members are quiet, but can be seen in a state of disbelief via video feeds. 2 can be seen weeping. 1. I can hear the words. Command, can the other members confirm this as well? 3. Confirmed. 2. Confirmed. 4. Confirmed. End log. Closing statement. The exploration resolved without any other notable events. Members of Beta 14 collected a variety of texts at the request of Command. Holy shit, so it's like psychic books. 2. Testing. The following describes a series of tests in which texts, including the documents retrieved from B1 and B2, were situated in an anechoic chamber. A room engineered to totally assimilate sounds, achieving unnaturally quiet conditions. And the environment analyzed by both an array of high-sensitivity directional microphones and a Foundation operative. The operative place in the anechoic chamber was the same across all trials and had passed several medical and auditory sensitivity tests, e.g. tests for air conduction of sound waves, bone conduction of sound waves, and for low-grade tinnitus. The operative was asked to hold his breath and remain still during recordings. Display logs. Test number 1. Design. No texts are placed in the chamber. Results. 3 frequencies are noted and recorded. A low-pitched rhythm of tones determined to be the subject's cardiovascular system. A high-pitched hum determined to be the electricity supplying the microphone array. Intermittent low-pitched percussive sounds determined to be the joints of the moving subject. The purpose of this study was to set a control environment by which to normalize future tests and allow for the detection of additional frequencies. Had to sneeze there. Test number 02A. Design. Texts recovered from the basements of the Library of Congress are situated in the chamber with the individual. Sample is refined to include those texts written by authors who are living, per request of Agent Wells. Results: no additional frequencies reported by individual. No additional frequencies recorded by microphone array. Test number 02B. Design. Texts recovered from the basement of the Library of Congress are situated in the chamber with the individual. Sample is refined to include those texts written by authors who are no longer living. Results: an additional faint low-pitched frequency is reported by the individual. No additional noise is recorded by the microphone array. Test number 03A. Design. As many texts as can fit in the chamber are supplied by sources other than the Library of Congress. Sources include texts from local libraries, bookstores, and Foundation personnel private collectors. Are situated in the chamber with the individual. Sample is refined to include texts written by authors who are living. Result: no additional frequencies reported by individual. No additional frequencies recorded by microphone array. Test number 03B. Design. Texts supplied by same sources in 03A are situated in the chamber with the individual. Sample is refined to include the same concentration of text but includes only those written by authors who are no longer living. Result: an additional faint low-pitched frequency is reported by the individual. An additional frequency is recorded by the microphone array. 3. Operation Reading Rainbow. The Foundation organized and initiated Operation Reading Rainbow in order to further research leads regarding the anomalous nature of 4058. The goal was to recreate 4058 by amassing a sufficient concentration and proximity of eligible texts. So it's like the spirit of authors, or the ghost of authors, possessing their texts. Footnote 6. Texts must be physical and authored by individuals who are deceased to be considered eligible. So I guess it's like a data pad tablet with it would not work. 3A. Summary Report Display File. Summary Report Operation Reading Rainbow, RR. Marlon Lawrence, Research Lead. Dear Agent Wells, thank you for your consult to Foundation R&D on the matter affecting the library. Below is a summary of our findings and our recommendations. As approved by our administration, R&D designed and conducted a series of trials that aim to further elucidate the nature of the phenomenon. Manifestations were recreated via the understood conditions. Trials that focused on accumulating copies of the works of a single deceased author resulted in less dissonant, more euphonic instances. Additionally, the mimetic data was more clear and coherent in its voice and message when the sample of text was restricted to one author, and when authors of similar subject materials and conclusions were grouped together. Ooh, very interesting. So, yes, very mimetic, like meta-meme. The mimetic narration did not manifest on subsequent readings of the same texts, and the overall volume of the noise gradually reduced as the texts were read. So the fucking books in the Library of Congress were not read? More specific studies confirm that reading the participating texts completely eradicated the emitted sound. It is recommended of this staff that a maximum count of textual items be established for all libraries and their concentration and proximity be avoided. For the case at hand, this can be achieved by two proposals. The first method is for the collections of the Library of Congress to be divided and reallocated in order to move away from the threshold count of texts. Alternatively, and if the library is to keep its collection intact, assumed to be the favored outcome, a sufficient number of texts must be read periodically and in their entirety in order to resolve the sound. So I wonder if it's based on subject, because only one person tested this. Does every person who has not read each requisite dead author's book have to read the book to stop sound? Holy fuck. To this end, the Foundation would be able to dedicate a rotating staff whose task will be to read all eligible texts in the library, and continue to do so daily for the incoming editions that fit the conditions to contribute to the phenomenon. So it's like a self-perpetuating fiction land, or I guess not even fiction, just like, you know how reading a book gives you like some jog to imagination. Even if you have a poor imagination, you at least see the image in your mind as you read it, I would imagine. I have quite the active imagination, so I wouldn't know. So it's like dead authors perpetuating psychic literature or something. 3B, follow-up correspondence, show file. To C. Hayden at blank from M. Wells at blank. Dear Mrs. Hayden, thank you for the collaboration on the issues at the library. To answer your question, the phenomenon, in our conclusion at least, indisputably originates from the books themselves. We do not have a classification to explain an item understood at large to be non-anomalous, but that discreetly houses anomalous qualities only evident in uncommon circumstances. But the closest thing we have would be safe. It has been diagnosed as such, and I hope this puts you somewhat at ease. We estimate that with a large enough staff, the sound should be inaudible in approximately 14 months. We've arranged a cover story regarding necessary library renovations to be disseminated where necessary. After it's resolved, we'll scale back the staff to a number less congesting, yet sufficient to keep the operation going and the books happy. So the Foundation had to step in to the Library of Congress and control it, basically, because of these psychic books. That brings me to your other question. While the official reports will only go so far as the how of the thing, I believe the why behind it is rather familiar. My mother told me that when we die, we become our stories. I was also told by my father to never underestimate human willpower, especially when it seeks to sustain itself. The sounds are the deceased, separate, desperate to be alive again. Thank you for your hospitality, Agent Wells. Well, that was interesting. That was 4058. And kind of a long one, but I like it. For a random one, that was pretty legit, dude. Alright, let's go back and return to sequential order. Let's check out 021. So, let's see. What does this say? There's the full page. SCP-021 and Subject D-124 are now deceased. So it's an image of presumably a male's arm, slightly tan, and it looks as though he has I want to say Chinese origin, but a mythical dragon tattoo. It could be a European variant too, I guess. It is a serpent-like dragon, or perhaps just a snake, and the visage of the dragon appears to be like an old, snarled, sort of scully man. It is a very detailed, ornate tattoo. It looks almost like Yakuza. Lots of brushwork that makes the dragon's tail look somewhat like feathers, and the dragon just has a lot of hair and feathers throughout. Very scaly. A main vertebra along the stomach and back. Typical whiskers of a dragon, very angry, snarled old man face. definitely looks like an Asian descent dragon. And just behind the image is a black background. Alright, let's do this. Okay, O21, item number O21, object class safe. Special containment procedures. O21 is an obligate parasite of the human body. Containment, therefore, is no more difficult than containing an adult human. Most cells will suffice. Item is currently housed in a detention cell, detention cell 217A on subject D139. Only Class D personnel are eligible for hosting O21. As long as given subject survives as a host for O21, he is exempt from normal monthly terminations of Class D personnel. Description: O21 takes the form of a large and elaborate tattoo of a serpentine dragon in the Oriental style, covering approximately 0.8 square meters of skin. This tattoo is fully animate within the confines of the host's skin and behaves largely as a normal animal would, albeit in only 2 dimensions. The tattoo's movement causes constant pain to its host, comparable and similar in character to simultaneous tattooing and tattoo removal on a large scale. The organism tends to spend most of its time on and near the torso. O21 displays no intelligence beyond a basic pattern of feeding and locomotion, although actually measuring the intelligence of a 2-dimensional lifeform has proven impossible thus far. O21 appears to feed exclusively on pigments in the host's skin. This can include melanin, in which case the subject appears to be suffering from vitiligo. However, the organism shows a marked preference for other tattoos, and will seek out and devour these before resorting to natural pigments. It should be noted that the feeding process itself, beyond the sensation of movement, is painless. Normal tattoo ink simply vanishes as it is eaten. The organism maintains a constant size, and no excretions have been observed. The organism is capable of clearing over 0.6 square meters of skin per hour. One may feed O21 by quickly tattooing fruits or small animals on the host. O21 can be transferred between hosts by various forms of physical contact with differing rates of success. In the case of successful transfer, the organism simply swims from one person to the other. Sexual intercourse appears to be the most reliable method of transfer, with a 93% rate of transmission. However, due to the severe pain involved, this is less than ideal. Contact between 2 open wounds is generally preferable. Transfer is more complicated in deceased subjects, though not unreasonably so. The organism suffers no ill effects from the death of its host, and continues to consume pigments. Transmission between species is unknown. Previous tests suggest it to be either impossible or exceedingly rare. O21 does confer some benefits to its host. The tattoo has been proven to accelerate the release and reuptake of epinephrine and decrease lactic acid buildup, providing boosts of strength, confidence, and pain tolerance in stressful situations, and reducing the usual after effects of weakness and fatigue. In addition, the tattoo seems to have some beneficial effect on the host's immune system. Aggression profiles in hosts are generally higher than average, though whether this is a direct effect of the tattoo or simply a reaction to the constant pain remains to be seen. The symbiotic relationship is usually limited by how long the host can tolerate such pain in everyday life. This has culminated in suicide in a number of subjects. In rare cases, hosts have also fallen victim to fatal skin infections. O21's origins and nature are a mystery. Tracing its transmission from host to host is hardly feasible within the confines of secrecy, and the organism could well be hundreds of years old, if not more. Nevertheless, O21's captivity is one of the longest in the Foundation's history at nearly data expunged years, and has been very educational thus far. Current research focuses mainly on observing the characteristics of life in 2 dimensions. Well, this is cool. It sort of applies what we just dealt with in the random one. Surprisingly, it's like, you know, this could be a tattoo that was made with the blood of someone with, like, you know, high mental energy or just, like, strong mimetic potential. So it could just be the will of the tattoo's creator that animates it, and then, you know, it's just sort of like a tulpa. It just continues after that. It doesn't need help from its creator. It just eats other tattoos and keeps going. Very cool, interesting. And a very useful part of research as well, it seems. Okay, there's a full page. O22. Item number O22, object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. A vault door has been installed following incident O22-827 to seal O22. It is to remain locked at all times, with the sole exception being the appearance of an instance of O22-1. The original door to O22 was destroyed during incident O22-827, with attempts at replacement being met with failure. Security cameras have been installed to monitor for instances of O22-1. In the event that an instance of O22-1 appears, automated systems should incinerate it the moment it leaves O22. At this point, the vault door may be unlocked to admit cleanup crews. Should the automated systems fail to destroy the instance of O22-1, response teams are cleared to enter and neutralize it. Under no circumstances may any living human enter O22 except at the order of Class 4 personnel for testing purposes. Class 4 personnel may also order instances of O22-1 to be captured and held. However, they may not be removed from O22 containment facilities. Description: O22 is a morgue in the basement of Redacted Hospital in Great Britain. Until 1980 there were no reported anomalous occurrences within the morgue. Reports of strange activity were first received in November of 1980 . The area was soon quarantined by the Foundation, with an official story being released that the entire building had been condemned. The reason for the sudden manifestation of its strange properties remains under investigation. Periodically, a random drawer within the morgue will open to reveal a cadaver under a covered sheet. I think I remember this one. After approximately 6 minutes open, the cadaver will animate and attempt to leave the morgue. At this point, the cadaver is given the designation O22-1. In some cases, the cadaver will be too damaged or decomposed to successfully exit O22 or even rise from the table it lies on. In this case, O22-1 will typically struggle and twitch on the table until expiration occurs. Should an instance of O22-1 expire while remaining on the table slides back into the drawer, which then shuts. Reports indicate that the scent of burnt tissue is evident immediately following such an event. The energy source that sustains instances of O22-1 is currently unknown. Instances do not breathe, eat, or sleep, and their bodies produce no heat. Analysis of O22-1 following expiration has discovered no abnormal organs or chemicals present. They appear to be fully human cadavers. Instances also possess physical strength that exceeds that of normal humans. Although direct testing has proven problematic, researchers estimate the strength increase to be approximately 500 N, 112 pounds, of lifting force greater than what one would expect of a human body sharing a similar condition. Analysis is underway to determine if this effect is connected to the unknown power source, or if it is an entirely separate phenomenon. When body parts are severed from O22-1, the portion with the greatest mass retains its effects. All other pieces become inert. Destruction of the head or brain does not neutralize O22-1. Instead, the lower torso and limbs remain animate. Complete tissue destruction appears to be the only method of successfully terminating instances of O22-1. Left alone, instances of O22-1 will simply expire. All motion ceases and they appear to become normal cadavers again. The amount of time this takes depends on how damaged the body is and the rate of decomposition, and can take anywhere between 2 days and 3 weeks. Investigation has revealed that the bodies acting as O22-1 match the description of cadavers reported to have been stolen from morgues across the country. The mechanism for this transfer is currently being researched. Adding any new matter to O22 has thus far proved impossible. Any object that enters O22 disappears shortly after passing through the door, leaving no trace. This includes inanimate objects and biological specimens. See Addendum O22-001 and O22-002. So long as an instance of O22-1 possesses a functioning mouth, tongue, and trachea, it is able to communicate fully with researchers. See interview log O22-751 for details. Okay. Here's the whole page of O22-751. Interview log O22-751. Each of the following interviews begin in much the same way. The instance of O22-1 will typically be hysterical until Foundation personnel are able to calm/restrain them. These portions have been omitted. Date: March, single blank, 1980, single blank. Interviewee: O22-1-2. Interviewer: Dr. Blank. Notes: O22-1-2 was the second instance of O22-1 that the Foundation discovered, the first having been destroyed on site by Foundation agents. O22-1 had the body of an Asian male, approximately 54 years old. Its chest had been stitched up, evidence of an autopsy. Begin log. Dr. Blank, please identify yourself. O22-1-2, my name is John. I love this song, but it's too voiced right now. My name is John Blank. What the hell is going on? Doctor, that's what we're trying to figure out, John. How did you get to this state? O22-1-2. I don't know. I was driving my car coming home from... Never mind. I was driving and I crashed. Doctor, then what happened? O22-1-2. Nothing. I woke up here. Please, this has to be unintelligible. Doctor, so you remember being in a car accident, then woke up here in the morgue. Do you have any idea how you got here? O22-1-2. I didn't get here. Don't you get it? This isn't me. I'm not me. Doctor, what do you mean you aren't you? At this point, O22-1-2 became severely agitated and had to be physically restrained. This required 6 agents due to the strength increase associated with instances of O22-1. Eventually, O22-1-2 was calmed and the interview proceeded. Doctor, now would you please explain what you meant? O22-1-2, this is not me. I saw my reflection in the steel. I'm not some old Asian fuck. This isn't me. End log. Following the last statement, O22-1-2 began to smash its head against the wall. Once further restrained, it began to scream unintelligibly for several hours before falling silent. It continued to struggle, though apparently unable to speak, for an additional 6 days until it finally ceased motion. During this time, it continued decomposing at a natural rate. An examination of the body following this interview was unable to determine a cause of death, as many of the internal organs had been removed. The only injury that did not appear to be a result of a previous injury/autopsy was a damaged trachea. Date: March blank 1980 single blank. Interviewee: O22-1-5. Interviewer: Dr. Blank. Notes: O22-1-5 animated shortly after D5619 was sent into O22 and subsequently disappeared. O22-1-5 had the body of an approximately 12-year-old female, missing its right arm and a large portion of its torso. Ugh. Following the incident with O22-1-3, all instances of O22-1 are physically restrained before being introduced to valuable personnel, with O22-1-5 being no exception. Begin log. Doctor, please state your name. O22-1-5, what did you bastards do to me? Doctor, please state your name. What the fuck? O22-1-5, what the fuck did you do to me? Doctor, we have done nothing to you. Now please state your name. 02215. You know who I fucking am? Doctor. Refresh my memory then, please. 02215. I'm the guinea pig you just fucked up. Don't tell me you forget me, Doctor asshole. Doctor. Are you D5619? 02215. In the flesh. And for your information, jackass, my name is Redacted. Now change me back, you son of a bitch. Change me fucking back. End log. At this point, Dr. Blank asked 02215 several questions to verify its identity. Though its identity was confirmed to be that of D5619, no further useful information was gained from 02215. It was kept in a holding cell until expiring 2 days later. After 3 weeks, the body of D5619 animated as 02217. What? In a brief interview with 02217, it claimed to be an 89-year-old female. That is really bizarre and, like, kind of fucked up. But okay. That was weird. Okay, and then Addendum 022001. A request has been submitted to create a new entrance to 022 by removing a portion of the south wall. Request pending approval. 022002. A pile of matter was discovered on the floor of the room directly above 022. It appeared to contain all matter that had been sent into 022, with the exception of humans. All materials appeared to be broken and worn down. Metallic components were covered in large amounts of rust, with all biological parts being in various stages of decomposition. Testing revealed that the time between inserting an object into 022 and it reappearing above to be precisely 183 seconds. Humans who enter, however, do not appear in said pile. Instead, humans appear to become integrated into the morgue and may later animate as instances of 022-1. So it's almost like a Doctor Who morgue, but they just keep dying. Like Doctor Who or City in the Stars morgue. Like a loom. Yeah, a loom. I don't know, that was fucked up, but very interesting. Yeah, I do remember this one. It's like some temporal anomaly that also shares characteristics with repeating collective life force. Very odd. Okay, 023. There's the page. Let's read this sucker. 023, item number 023, object class Euclid. Special containment procedure strike-through. 023 is to be contained in a standard 5x5 meter containment unit on strike-through. 023 is to be contained in a walled-off intersection of 2 corridors at site double blank, with at least 3 meters of space in each direction, and false doors at 3 of the 4 ends, in addition to the real door. Security cameras will be placed and maintained above all 4 doors. This author really liked all of the parentheses numbers, huh? At all times, 023's eye sockets are to be filled with spherical inserts made of hard rubber. What is this, fucking Sasuke? If you give him a real eye, it's gonna turn into the Mangekyo Sharingan or the Rinnegan. He's gonna break out, casting a Matarasu on you. Eye inserts must be replaced as they degrade. Degradation can be monitored by measuring the brightness of the burning effect as observed by security footage. Brightness greater than 12 candela requires that the inserts be replaced within 12 hours. Eye inserts are only to be replaced individually and only after the sun has completely set, so very sensitive. Personnel are not to look directly into eye sockets of 023 at any time. Following incident 02327, here's the page, very short, very short. SCP involved 023. Did I not scroll that right? There you go. Personnel involved, Dr. Blank, data expunged, date, double blank, location, site, double blank, description, timeline of events. 10 seconds. A pair of glass eyeballs are inserted into the eye sockets of 023 by 2 D-Class personnel, 15 seconds. Glass eyes take on an orange-red glow, similar to what O23's real eyes looked like before removal. 3 minutes 13 seconds, molten glass begins to run out of O23's eye sockets. 5 minutes 54 seconds, data expunged, appear on all lenses, windows, mirrors, monitors, and glass surfaces at site double blank. 6 minutes 12 seconds, evacuation of site double blank ordered. 6 hours 54 minutes 07 seconds. Sun visible over horizon. D-Class personnel sent in to check around O23's enclosure. Data expunged, gone. Only trace of O23 is a burnt section of floor around a puddle of colored glass. Personal log of Dr. Blank. Double blank, quadruple blank, date. It's my fault. I have doomed my research team and possibly the rest of the facility. All that's left is to keep trying. We must contain O23. Note, on double blank, quadruple blank, 1 year after incident O2327, blank personnel were interred in an unmarked mass grave outside site double blank. What the fuck? Is it the Sharingan? What the holy fuck? All reflective surfaces, including displays, monitors, and eyewear of any sort, are not permitted within 30 meters of O23's cell. This includes monitors linked to security cameras within its enclosure. Security personnel posted at checkpoints outside both corridors will enforce and adhere to this measure. Experimentation involving O23 has been suspended indefinitely. Description: O23 is a large, sexless, shaggy canine, 1.5 meters at the shoulder, with black fur. Strike-through: it has bright orange-red eyes and prominent teeth on strike-through. What the fuck? Strike-through on a page? Okay. Well, this is called Mother's Love. The passions of the dead can be vast and mighty, but we are not all powerful. There are things I can never see. There are things I can never touch. There are things I can never overpower. Because of that, there are many things I can never protect. My children who birthed me from. Because of that, oftentimes they die in bitterness and pain. Because of that, their deaths can also birth hates, large and small. Hates are things I can see and touch. I must see and touch them, because my children who birthed me cannot. I must protect my children who birthed me where I can. Just as my strange brethren are driven to curse them, I do not have the power to unmake hates. The best I can do is bind them to a seal made from things that my children who birthed me can see and touch. The truth of our nature is all we have. The truth of our nature is all we have and are, and denial of that truth is denial of our power. But more importantly, my children who birthed me can guard themselves against what they can see and touch. The form of a ladybird, beetle, or butterfly is a fine seal for small hates. In a seal of that size, it is easy for me to reduce the power of their curses to almost nothing. The larger seals needed to hold larger hates are more difficult. A hate sealed as a cat can still cause sickness and misfortune. Then there are vast hates, birthed from wars and plagues that kill together many of my children who birthed me. There are few loves vast enough to deny the truth of their nature, but I have tried once. It was a hate birthed out of the smoldering rage in the hearts of so many who died knowing that their bodies would be burned together in a pit of pestilence and anonymity. I rarely call upon the power of the light that brings life to create a seal, but there was little choice against a hate natured so strongly at my death. The weakest part of any seal is always in the eyes, because they are the windows to the soul. My children who birthed me are only believe in that as a concept, but concepts are far more real to my brethren, whether they are strange or not, and I, than what my children who birthed me would think of as concrete. To line up the windows is to make an open path between a soul and the most vile curse a sealed hate can inflict. I used every method I knew to reinforce the seal's eyes, but even then I could not stop it from setting a cause of death in anyone it met gazes with. My blessing could only delay the curse's full effects for a single cycle around the light that brings life. My misguided children, why did you take its eyes? That's a link to O23. Okay, and then see Incident Report O2326. All of these are getting real cyclical. We're going to many different articles here. Okay, O2326. Oh, this song's legit. Ian Stalker. Incident Report O2326. SCP involved O23. Personnel involved Dr. Blank. 5D class personnel. Date triple blanks. Triple double blanks to triple double blanks. Location site double blank. Description. In an attempt to curtail the danger posed by O23, Dr. Blank has approved the removal of both O23's eyes and teeth. Immediately after both its eyes were removed, O23 breached security by vanishing completely. O23 was reobtained on a stretch of interstate triple blank at 4:37 p.m. and brought back into containment where D-class personnel finished pulling out its teeth. Ugh. While the total number of civilians exposed to O23 during this period is unknown, death record monitoring has tied 9 civilian deaths to this incident. Timestamps confirmed over the course of the next 48 hours that O23 vanished only while the sun was visible in the sky from outside of Site Double Blank. O23 O26-1, as of double blank, quadruple blank, Dr. Blank has been suspended pending disciplinary review for contributing to, if not being directly responsible for, Incident O23 O26. Dr. Blank is now in charge of O23. The increased difficulties in containment that have been incurred as a result of Dr. Blank should serve to remind all personnel of the Foundation's purpose: secure, contain, and protect. Research, experimentation, convenience, and even the safety of Foundation personnel are secondary concerns. We are not working to protect ourselves. O5 double blank. Addendum O23 O26-2. A total of single blank bodies with a time of death exactly 1 year after Incident O23 O26 have been identified as consistent with O23 exposure. Okay. Anytime an individual makes eye contact with O23, either that person or a member of their immediate family will die exactly 1 year after eye contact is broken. Research into the method of selection is incomplete due to a moratorium on experiments, but the available data suggests that having a larger immediate family lessens the chance of the individual making eye contact themselves dying, and neither a pattern nor a preference in victim types has been found. This may indicate that O23's victim is designated entirely at random, but it is unknown whether this selection occurs at the beginning or at the end of the 1 year time period. Attempts to terminate an individual has made eye contact with O23 and their entire immediate family before the 1 year time period has ended data expunge. Autopsies of individuals killed by O23's effect show that, while outwardly appearing unharmed, the remains have been filled in with highly compacted ash, including but not limited to all organ systems and the circulatory system. Muscle tissue, bones, and brain tissue universally show signs of exposure to temperatures above double blank Celsius. If not contained in a setting that at least superficially resembles a crossroads, O23 will phase through walls to get to the nearest suitable location, incinerating all materials it passes through. O23 was first brought to the Foundation's attention when it attacked a church in Blank while it was in session, killing Blank and civilians directly and redacted as a result of eye contact. Following retrieval of O23, Class B amnestics were administered to all witnesses and surviving victims. The incident was covered up as a case of arson. O23-001 Addendum. O23 broke containment on double blank, quadruple blank by passing through its cell wall. Incident O23-01. 023 was later discovered at the intersection of two corridors elsewhere on Site Triple Blank. Agent Blank noted 023's similarity to a redacted. Special containment procedures for 023 updated. Assistant Researcher Blank issued a reprimand for negligence. Addendum 023-002, 023 has been responsible for the deaths of blank personnel, that's triple blank personnel, and double blank civilians since it was first brought into containment on 10/12 double blank 94. Addendum 023-003, request for reclassification to Keter pending. Addendum 023-004, due to both anomalies focusing on specific geographic spaces, their destructive capabilities, and canine appearance, it is possible that 1111, so 1111-1, may be a variant of the same phenomenon observed in 023 or vice versa. Investigation into the origin of both anomalies is ongoing. Due to the inability to capture 1111-1 for study, investigations are currently focused on 023. Let's peek this really quick, see if it's worth it. There's an incident log. You know what, let's read it. 1111, item number 1111, object class Euclid. Special containment procedures, a restricted zone has been established in a 2-kilometer radius around 1111-2. A public statement was released declaring it to be a weather monitoring station. Cameras are suspended from weather balloons constantly monitoring the enclosure. Individuals may not come within 1 kilometer of 1111-2 without explicit written permission from a level 4 researcher or higher. Should 1111-1 move away from 1111-2, all personnel are to evacuate the restricted zone until 1111-1 returns to its position beneath 1111-2. Description 1111-1 is an entity with an appearance similar to that of Canis familiaris, commonly known as the domestic dog. The size of 1101 varies with its distance from 1101 and 1101 and why do I keep saying and? 1101 too. Directly beneath it, 1101 1111 holy fuck is approximately 150 centimeter from ground to shoulders. The exact breed of 1111-1 is unclear. It appears to be a mix, with traits of both a Labrador Retriever and a German Shepherd clearly visible. 1111-1 possesses a white coat and red eyes, both of which glow at luminosities directly proportional to its proximity to 1111-2. At distances greater than 500 meters from 1111-2, 1111-1 gradually becomes translucent. Additionally, 1111 speed, 1111-1 speed, strength, and agility all seem to be inversely proportional to its distance from 1111-2. A dog tag is affixed to a faded red collar around 1111-1's neck. The tag reads Loyal. Left alone, 1111-1 lies down beneath 1111-2. It does not appear to sleep, or if it does, is able to do so with its eyes completely open. It does not eat, drink, or breathe. Should 1111-1 become aware of any person or object coming near 1111-2, it will quickly become hostile and attempt to destroy the intruder. I'm just going to refer to it as 1 from now. 1 has significantly increased physical abilities above a standard canine. Video records show it running at speeds in excess of 60 kilometers an hour, jumping 6 meters into the air and biting through 15 millimeters titanium plating. 1 appears to be incorporeal and, as such, attempts to both neutralize it and examine 2 more closely have been met with failure. See Incident Log B for details. So it sounds like a sort of like physical holographic dog. And the tower too is like almost like a generator for it. It's almost like a symbiotic structure alien entity or something. 2 has the appearance of a man hanged by a noose from a tree. Okay, I thought it was a tower. It's his owner. The subject wears a faded business suit and dress shoes. Both are too worn to properly identify a manufacturer. 2 constantly jerks and twitches in a manner consistent with those of a man being hanged. Occasionally, gasps for breath can also be heard. The violence and energy of these jerks is directly proportional to 1's proximity to 2. As the distance between the 2 increases, the jerks and twitches decrease in violence and frequency. So we need to separate them. Date 0502-19 double blank. A team of single blank agents were sent to attempt to neutralize 1 for transportation to a containment facility. The team approached 2 from the north, opposite the direction 1 was facing. The agents were able to come within 300 meters of 2, at which point 1 rose and attacked the agents without warning. Agent Blank, realizing that the mission had failed, began to flee the area. 1 pursued, but decreased in size, definition, and speed as it grew further and further away from 2. When 1 reached a distance of 900 meters from 2, 2 was observed to stop moving entirely. At this point, 1 froze for a moment and turned its head towards 2. 1 stayed in this position for a few seconds before howling once and sprinting back towards 2. 2 was observed to resume its jerking and twitching. So it's like 2 spirits essentially keeping each other alive. The dog is corporeal though, so maybe it's like a dog animated by the spirit of this hanged man. And if the dog fully leaves the area, the man may pass on, and therefore the dog as well or something. Video records of the incident indicate that rounds fired at 1 passed through it without making contact, despite the fact that its teeth and claws proved solid when attacking agents. Agent Blank was the only one to survive the incident. So yeah, it's sort of like a semi-corporeal ghost entity almost. All 5 single blank. From this point forward, only D-class and remote-operated drones may be used to approach 1111 directly. Date 0520-19 double blank. Single blank D-class armed with data expunged were sent to approach 2 from various directions. Incident proved similar to previous attempt. 1 proceeded to kill all D-class present. During the incident, D-83011 was able to come within 50 meters of 2 before being killed. During this time, cameras noted an anomaly with 2. Its jerks slowed and its eyes opened and fixed on D-83011. 2's arms then raised towards 83011 in what appeared to observers as a welcoming embrace. Moments before 83011 was killed by 1, 2's lips can be seen moving, mouthing what appeared to be the words "No, down boy." Immediately after the death of 83011, 2 fell limp and resumed normal twitching. So yeah, it's like the spirit passed on of the man, but he is able to sort of repossess his corpse because he wants to correct the issue. The dog has gone berserk. And really, he just wanted to be reunited with his dog, but I guess the feral nature of their spirits combining causes it to go insane or something. And like overprotective, loyal, as its collar says. 05 single blank. It appears as though simply isolating 2 is enough to effectively contain 1. As such, all further testing is suspended barring a significant development until further notice. Yeah, so pretty harmless if you don't approach. It's possible that 1111-1 may be a variant of the same phenomenon observed in 023 or vice versa. Investigation into the origin of both anomalies is ongoing due to the inability to capture 1111-1 for study. Investigations are currently focused on 023. Well, that was quite the journey for just 1 entry. I think the forward reference is worth it. Alright, here's 024, here's the page, let's read this. 024, item number 024, object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. Due to its nature, 024 cannot be moved to a secure location, so security measures must be placed on site. To conceal its location, 5 identical-looking replicas have been erected around O24. A tight security perimeter must be maintained around O24's compound at all times, with separate security teams guarding O24 and its replicas. None of the security teams except for team leaders will be informed of the location of O24. O24 must be secured with magnetically sealed blast doors and reinforced armored walls to prevent unauthorized entry. Under no circumstances can any security or research personnel enter O24. Only D-Class personnel are allowed entry and strictly for research purposes only. All researchers are to observe and experiment with O24 from their remote observation lab. Any personnel attempting to leave the remote observation lab or enter O24 without prior approval from a level 4 researcher must be immediately apprehended with termination authorized. Should containment be breached or O24's true nature compromised, then the entire compound must be destroyed via specialized demolition charges planted throughout the compound. Description: O24 is an abandoned soundstage that was once owned by blank. However, O24 itself had been abandoned since 19 and it is unknown whether its special properties manifested before or after its abandonment. O24 is located in the heart of blank and was initially discovered when a group of teenage youths broke into the abandoned compound. The testimony of the lone winner when she turned herself into the police was enough to have Foundation assets mobilized to contain O24. Upon entering O24, visitors are immediately greeted by an anonymous announcer who communicates via intercom and is able to hear and comprehend the voices of people within O24. The announcer will inform the contestants that they are about to take part in a game show in which the winners will win fabulous prizes, but will also warn that the game will be extremely hazardous and that the losers will never leave O24. It is at this point the announcer presents the choice of whether to stay or leave O24. Contestants who accept will continue to participate in the game, while those who decline are immediately expelled from O24. Contestants that win the game or decline to participate may never enter O24 again, as entry is denied by an impenetrable invisible barrier. It is then that the contestants are led to the actual game. The style, composition, and appearance of the game always changes in every individual play, but the game is always centered around a long, elaborate obstacle course that the contestants must navigate through. The rules also vary. Some playthroughs may only allow a single winner, while others encourage the creation of teams to win the game. More often than not, the obstacles seen in these games range from incredibly benign to extremely hazardous and life-threatening. As the contestants attempt to negotiate the course, the announcer will continuously update their status and actively participate in the game, often giving advice, conversing with contestants, and adding new rules. As the game progresses, the obstacles become significantly more dangerous and difficult to overcome, and it is not surprising to have the entire pool of contestants succumb to the rigors of the obstacle course. If such an event happens, the announcer will express sadness at the lack of a winner, and O24 will shut down, resetting only when a new batch of contestants enter. So this sounds kind of like the toy room from Doctor Who. Any attempts to break the rules, such as assaulting other contestants and deliberately bypassing obstacles, are met by extreme violence. The announcer will call out the offending contestant, who will be quickly and forcefully ejected from the course by Studio Guardians. These Studio Guardians will immediately materialize within O24 when called upon by the announcer and disappear when not needed. The contestant will never be seen again. I like that we have this Japanese video game music. It just sounds like a crazy-ass Japanese game show. This is called Yume wa Owaranai. What is this from? Tales of Fantasia. Reminded of the Squid Game a little bit here. When a winner is declared, he or she he/she will receive a random grand prize. Any contestants that have survived the course but failed to win are immediately declared losers by the announcer. The lights will switch off and the winner will immediately appear outside of O24 with his/her prize while the losers completely disappear. Fed to the TARDIS of the Toy Masters, Game Masters TARDIS toy box. However, the most mysterious aspect of O24 is that after every game, a VHS tape or DVD will appear in the mailbox outside of O24's main entrance. This recording is a complete record of the entire game that was previously played, even though winners have claimed that they had never seen any cameras or recording devices inside O24. Also, more strangely, a live studio audience can be seen in the background, cheering on the contestants. Again, winners have claimed not to have seen a live studio audience while inside O24. Yeah, so it's like a psychic death game. Addendum 1. So far, the list of prizes awarded to winners has included, but is not limited to, cash prizes, electronics, various consumer goods, cars, collectibles, full paid vacations to various countries, data expunged. Close examination of these prizes have confirmed that they are completely genuine and possess no unusual abilities or characteristics whatsoever. There appears to be no consistent pattern for what the prizes will be. Addendum 2. In an attempt to track where the losers are taken, GPS locator beacons were planted on subjects D124 through D135 when group D245 was sent into O24. When the losers were taken away, all signals from the beacons were lost. Whether this is because the beacons were destroyed or because the losers were taken to an area that cannot be located via GPS is currently unknown. Addendum 3. The announcer living within O24 appears to be sentient and aware of events that take place outside of the compound. During the test of Group D523, which consisted only of Dr. Blank, Doctor Who? The announcer instead engaged in a conversation with Dr. Blank. Analysis of the conversations have shown that the majority of the subjects are centered around pop culture and information distributed through television, implying that O24 is somehow able to access and interpret television signals, cutting all power and signal lines as well as removing any potential wireless receiving equipment on O24 does not affect O24 in any way. Yeah, this is straight up genuine Doctor Who Time Lord lore. This is actually the toy box. When it became clear that no other contestants would participate, the announcer kindly asked Dr. Blank to leave O24 and suggested he return with more contestants. Addendum 4. The studio guardians that the announcer uses to enforce the rules vary in appearance. Every game, just like the course. If they appear, the guardians will always be dressed in a manner that matches with the theme of the obstacle course. The only common attributes all guardians share are the possession of humanoid appearance, ability to suddenly appear and disappear, superhuman strength, and face-concealing masks or headgear. However, winners have claimed that the guardians have no apparent shape or form inside of O24, instead appearing as huge shadowy figures that engulf the offender. So maybe they only have form to those who die? Or maybe it's just hard to discern their nature? Could be, again, amalgamate consciousness of, like, the people who lost. Or something, who knows? Alright, O25. Item number O25, Object Class Safe. Special containment procedures. O25 is only to be opened during testing, as is the room in which O25 is stored. Entry codes are to be given only to authorized research and security personnel. No other containment protocol is required. Description: O25 is a wooden wardrobe measuring 0.97 meters by 0.62 meters by 1.95 meters, full of clothing dating from a number of time periods. Articles contained within the chest, collectively named O25-1, match with styles of decades from the previous 1920s to the present. The apparel from each time frame varies with regard to style. For example, a polyester striped shirt and a pair of charcoal suit pants both correspond with general styles of the 1970s. The only unifying aspect of every article contained in O25 is that each one is in poor condition. Moths have eaten at much of the collection, and tears and runs are not uncommon. When any item from O25 is put on, the wearer is observed either to die or suffer an injury within 24 hours. The cause of death or injury in these instances is invariably linked to the aforementioned flaws in the clothing, but only ever appears to be an unrelated incident. Wearing a glove with a fingertip cut off may result in the loss of the fingertip through a simple kitchen accident, like chopping onions. Similarly, a subject wearing a poncho with a sleeve missing will somehow cause the loss of the uncovered arm, be it an attack by a wild animal or a vehicular accident that necessitates the amputation of the limb. So it's like a negative luck clothing. If placed in a sealed unfurnished enclosure while wearing an item from the chest, the wearer will either seemingly spontaneously contract a flesh-eating disease that begins in the areas not covered by the clothing, or suffer the failure of an organ located beneath an imperfection in the article. So it's like a negative, like a max negative luck equipment. Diseases arising from such incidents may or may not be contagious. No study has been successfully undertaken due to the speed at which the strains observed run their course. Recommended that, if possible, samples of the disease be taken to a lab for possible weaponization. Typical fucking Foundation. Something that could be world-ending, like XK class scenario, and they don't give a fuck. Following is an abridged testing log of O25. More thorough testing will accompany the declassification of the document in its entirety. Test log O25 section 1, subject D778, a 42-year-old white male. So we are kind of ascending in D-class as well as we go. I guess this is sort of sequential in the lore. Article 1940s era white tuxedo. Imperfections. Torn seam and left shoulder. Test results. Subject was allowed free roam of the halls under Agent Blank's supervision. For approximately 45 minutes, nothing eventful occurred. However, at double blank, security tapes and eyewitnesses indicate that D778 appeared to make an attempt at attacking Agent Blank. He in turn overcame the subject with a knife, causing an inch-deep gash in D778's left shoulder, precisely at the point where the tuxedo's seam was ripped. Test halted, subject later terminated. Subject D690, a 26-year-old white male. Article 2004 Boston Red Sox baseball cap. Imperfections. Missing size adjuster in back of cap. Logo in front partially removed. Test results. Placed in a sealed room with the subject was a table on which were a loaded Jericho Baby Eagle 9mm handgun, a grill lighter, and a hatchet. D690 chose to wear the cap backward for the test. Potential effects of this decision on the outcome of the test are unknown. Subject expressed reluctance to touch any of the object on the table for several hours. Food and water were provided as necessary. After 4 hours of general inactivity, subject picked up the handgun and examined it. While holding it at roughly eye level, the weapon discharged into D690's forehead, where the size adjustment band would have been. The round exited the subject near the part of the hat with the missing part of the logo. Yeah, it's almost like time paradox clothing. Like the shit where something's meant to happen with it. The event begets itself. Subjects D736, a 22-year-old white male. D771, a 23-year-old white male. Article burgundy striped sweater vest. Dating from 1973. Imperfections. Articles seem to have been partially eaten by moths. Several large holes in the front of the sweater. Test results. D736 was asked by researching staff to wear the sweater vest, which he did under duress. D771 was given a loaded handgun out of sight of the other test participant and instructed to, on a given signal, fire all 6 parentheses 6 shots in the direction of D-736. After doing so, it was noted that every shot fired passed through one of the holes in the sweater vest, leaving the clothing intact and killing D-736. Firearm retrieved, surviving subject transported back to quarters. Oh, that's fucked. It's like time moths or something, I don't know. Chronovore moths. They cause a paradox and it just causes shit to be magnetized to it. Subject D771, a 23-year-old white male. Article, sweater vest from above trial. Like they're not gonna connect the dots. Imperfection, same as mentioned. Test results, D771 was this time placed in an empty room. Dimensions 15 meters by 15 meters by 15 meters. Only objects in the enclosure were lights overhead. Subject initially complained of boredom, then lay on his back and went to sleep. After 2 hours and 14 minutes, two of the fluorescent light tubes in the ceiling suddenly dislodged and fell. Both landed squarely on holes in the sweater, shattering upon impact. One of the tubes broke into jagged pieces that impaled D771 in several areas, but only again through gaps already present in the sweater vest. Subject's vitals persisted for another 6 minutes, then ceased. Further testing locations will be selected to minimize possible damage to the surrounding area. This is fucked. This is playing with God, dude. We have way too much going on. Oh yeah? I see one we want to read. Subject, Dr. Blank, unplanned experiment. An unidentified individual left an article from 025 on Dr. Blank's desk that looks similar to an item of his own clothing. Information about this incident and or the perpetrator of same should be reported immediately to senior staff. Article, lightweight scarf dyed a number of colors. This has gotta be a fucking Doctor Who reference. Imperfections. Heavily pulled seam caused scarf to be considerably shorter and tighter in the middle. Test results. According to his itinerary, Dr. Blank, wearing the item from 025, was en route to the enclosure of SCP triple blank on double blank quadruple blank for routine testing. However, he diverged from his intended path and began in a direction towards an entirely separate wing of the facility. Subject then entered the enclosure of SCP-173 without gathering accompaniment or following safety procedures, and upon hearing the door closing, blinked. Cause of death listed as strangulation resulting from a crushed windpipe. Alright, here we fucking go, dude. Let's finish this one first and I'll read the linked one. Subject D802, a 30-year-old Hispanic female. Article, 1980s flash dance style white shirt, imperfections. Right shoulder removed, left sleeve completely cut off, entire hem shredded. Test results, data expunged. All present were presumed infected, then quarantined and data expunged. All further tests involving 1980s era fashion have been postponed indefinitely due to expenditures and safety hazards presented by the aforementioned experiment. Full cleanup estimated to take an additional double blank weeks. Further testing authorized, results now waiting declassification. Well, here it is, 173, and we'll go ahead and go to 26 as well. But seeing as how this is related to 25, Jesus. Alright, here it is, dude. Here's Peanut. Okay. Hopefully this isn't, like, cross-linked to way too much. So, the caption says 173 in containment. I already know what this is, but I'm gonna go ahead and belt it off for you anyway. It is a hominid creature that appears to be very, wood-like, perhaps made of carved wood, or perhaps, very brown stone. It has a black, I guess, marking towards its rump if it were hominid. Its chest or stomach also has some colored marking, as well as its legs. It is very stump-like of a creature, almost like a type of wooden doll. It has a very terrifying visage, which appears to be made of paint, as well as what appears to be a protrusion of an ear. Very colorful face, a lot of red blotching around for, I guess, skin characteristics, and then black used to outline potentially cheeks, nose, bridge of nose, and mouth, as well as just very bulbous green, light green eyes. The subject appears to be a peanut in appearance a little bit, as per the reference here. Part of the cranium appears to have an opening. Perhaps this is a golem? The environment this subject is contained in appears to be a dilapidated workshop back room, or perhaps a more modern barn. Maybe an industrial barn with just no hay or anything. Very disgusting floor. It's like a brownish gold gray. Beaten up, bashed. It looks kind of rusty. This looks like a very old building. Yes, very markedly kind of worn tile for the walls. And it appears to be either lockers or just some sort of piping in the walls. Maybe electrical tubing or something. And it just appears to be like a warehouse. Very metal, concrete, I don't know, reusable materials, and windows that seem to hint towards an outside, but who knows. There's also a bit of rafters above and just stray wire and a small fluorescent bulb. So here's 173. SCP-173, item number 173, object class Euclid. Special containment procedures, item 173 is to be kept in a locked container at all times. When personnel must enter 173's container, no fewer than 3 may enter at any time, and the door is to be relocked behind them. At all times, 2 persons must maintain direct eye contact with 173 until all personnel have vacated and relocked the container. Description: move to Site 19, 1993. Origin is as of yet unknown. It is constructed from concrete and rebar with traces of Krylon brand spray paint. So yes, it appears to be just a golem made with, I don't know, typical materials. 173 is animate and extremely hostile. The object cannot move while within a direct line of sight. Line of sight must not be broken at any time with 173. Personnel assigned to enter container are instructed to alert one another before blinking. Object is reported to attack by snapping the neck at the base of the skull, or by strangulation. You see those big fucking mitts? That's gotta hurt. In the event of an attack, personnel are to observe Class 4 hazardous object containment procedures. Personnel report sounds of scraping stone originating from within the container when no one is present inside. This is considered normal, and any change in this behavior should be reported to the acting HMCL supervisor on duty. The reddish-brown substance on the floor is a combination of feces and blood. Origin of these materials is unknown. The enclosure must be cleaned on a bi-weekly basis. That's fucking nasty. So yes, this is Peanut, legendary SCP, and a very big Doctor Who reference. This is a reference to the Weeping Angels. Greater information: the image used in the SCP-173 article is the art piece Untitled 2004 by Izumi Kato. That leads to izumikato.com/#untitled-2004. I'll just let you see the URL linked here in the bottom left. izumikato.com. Same with here. This is just accreditations, I guess. The photograph was taken by Kisuke Yamamoto, which is a link to skythebathhost.com/en/exhibition/2005/04/Izumi_Kato/. A note of caution, 173 is a secondary use of the image of the art piece Untitled 2004, which was created by Izumi Kato. The concept of 173 does not have any relationship with the artist's original concept of Untitled 2004. So this is just a disclaimer from the Foundation. The sculpture, its likeness, and the photograph has not been released under any Creative Commons license. Only the text of this article is released under Creative Commons. The sculpture and its likeness may not be used for commercial purposes under any circumstances. Izumi Kato has graciously chosen to allow the use of this image of Untitled 2004 by the SCP Foundation and its fan base for non-commercial purposes only. So I guess I can't monetize this particular part. 1. Do not contact or negotiate Izumi Kato about anything related to SCP-173. Number 2, do not negotiate commercial license of SCP-173 images at all. Number 3, do not ask the SCP Wiki to handle Untitled 2004 commercial license negotiations with Izumi Kato. Number 4, Untitled 2004 images are not available commercially for use in connection with 173. There is no exception. So presumably this is the only image I can use, not the original or anything. Anyway, that's 173. We kind of had a cross-link with it. Alright, 026. Item number 026, Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures 026 is to remain securely locked and boarded up at all times when there is no research ongoing. Alarms are set to alert the Foundation in case of entry by civilians or other agencies. Description: 026 is a 3-story public school building built in blank. It has 2 wings connected to a central foyer. It was declared condemned in blank after it was found the floor plan didn't match up to the building's blueprints. See Interview Log 02601. Okay. Here's the log. What is this? Oh, just the tag. Okay, Interview Log 02601. Interview with blank blank, former principal at 026. Agent blank, thank you for your time, Mr. Blank. Blank, not at all. There's one thing I have plenty of these days, it's time. Agent blank, so let's get down to business. You're principal of Redacted, back in Redacted, is that correct? Blank, yes, that's right. Agent, what can you tell us about that? Principal, well, you've heard the stories, I'm sure. Folks say it was haunted. I don't know about that, but things did seem strange towards the end. Agent, tell me about them. Principal, let's see. There were the stairs, of course. You've heard about that, right? People would count 15 coming up and 16 coming back down. I'm sure there was a trick to it, like an optical illusion, but I could never figure it out. We had a history book that turned up completely blank. I suppose these seem rather tame, but you know how it is. Little things add up. People tell stories. Agent, tell me about the dreams. Principal, the dreams? Oh yes, people were complaining about nightmares. Mostly students, but a few of the staff as well. It was always about school never ending. We joked about it at first, but more people talked about it. I didn't put much credence into it, but, well, when we found the blueprints didn't match up with the school, it seemed easier just to move to a new building. The schoolhouse was old anyway, and we wanted a fresh start. And just like that, things seemed to settle back to normal. Agent, I see. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Principal, It's not really much, but maybe you'll make a nice footnote in that book you're writing. I still sometimes have dreams about being in my office, back at the old schoolhouse. Sometimes I'm doing paperwork, sometimes I'm talking to someone, but it's always back behind the desk, just like old times. But gradually, I notice something's a bit off. The bell's ringing, but I don't hear anyone in the hallway. No students hurrying in or out of the classroom, no chatter, no footsteps. Nothing but the bell. And it doesn't stop. The crazy thing is that I never notice it's a dream until then. I've been retired for 10 years, but until I notice the bell, I think everything's normal. Crazy, isn't it? Agent, I think it's very interesting. Thank you very much. If you think of anything else, don't hesitate to give me a call. Principal, anytime. So it's like a psychic architecture, and they just stay in it until the trigger to exit the dream is toggled, I guess. So maybe it's still extant, who knows. It came to the Foundation's attention after several disappearances in the area were linked to visits to the abandoned building. Strike-through. The building demonstrates spatial anomalies. Its internal space is much greater than the external surface of the building would allow. Hallways display variable length, while stairways have differing numbers of steps going up or down. The number of rooms off the hallways changes each time they are counted. Attempts to reach the far ends of the hallways have met with failure thus far. Entrance through the fire escapes located at the ends of the hallways leads to doors approximately midway down the length of the halls. End strike-through. Edit. See Note 026A. There is considerable graffiti on the interior walls of the school. Ooh, I think I remember this, or maybe I'm remembering a future one. Most appears typical, including gang signs, names, and street art. However, the graffiti fades and reappears, changing location. Yeah, I think they send a MTF task force in here. Writing on chalkboards and bulletin boards changes in a similar fashion. Subjects typically found range from standard school subjects, mathematics, literature, biology, to more esoteric subjects such as quantum entanglement, blank, and eugenics. One researcher reported one board detailing information about SCP quadruple blank, but photographic evidence showed only a blank slate. Note 026B. The phrase "the children used to sing" has appeared multiple times in various places throughout the building. There is currently no explanation for its significance. A number of unconscious subjects have been found in the building, mostly of high school age, ranging from 12 to 18. They are dressed in accordance to the school's dress code, circa quadruple blank. Several have been identified as former students or faculty of the school who disappeared after the school shut down. In at least one case, more than 10 years after the closure. It is currently unknown how they are transported back into 026. See Note 026C. All attempts to wake the subjects while inside the building have failed. On being removed from the grounds of 026, the subjects wake abruptly, experience a period of confusion before dying from extremely rapid dehydration, followed by advanced decomposition. No useful intelligence has been recovered from the subjects to date. So as long as they stay in the dream, which is parallel to reality, they sort of quantum entangle into physical reality and then just quickly expire because they're pulled out of dream space, which runs on dreamtime logic, and I guess their body cannot handle the transition from REM pineal gland dream space dreamtime logic into functional physical reality's connection to this entry point. See Incident Report 02612. Note 026A, a robotic exploration and video feeds have shown that the apparent spatial anomalies are caused by changes in the perceptions of observers rather than actual spatial phenomena. For this reason, 026 does not require the expertise of Mobile Task Force Row 8 roadside picnickers at this time. Update. Further exploration has shown that some spatial phenomena do occur. See the exploration logs for more details. Okay, this is 026 exploration logs. Here's the page. Let's read it. I do remember this. This is a good one. 026 exploration logs. Exploration log 0264. Exploration conducted by Agent Blank. Alright, I'm walking into the lobby. Walls are mostly bare concrete, a little paint here and there. Graffiti everywhere, a few beer bottles, some other trash. Looks just like another abandoned building. Okay, I'm making my way up the stairs. More graffiti on the walls. Okay, I'm going into the hallway. The peeling paint is kind of creepy. Looks like some sort of sheet fungus. Reminds me of Redacted. Is that a reference to the SCP-20? The doors are kind of weird. Some are really close, others are far. Really irregular spacing. Doesn't match up with the blueprint you showed me. Okay, here's a classroom. Pretty empty. Some old desks. Real old, like they had in the 30s. The chalkboard's got a few math problems on it. Looks like trig. Okay, I'm going to check out another room. Back in the hallway, heading to the next room. Desks look more modern in this room, made from particle board. More posters here, look to be from the 80s, I'd say. I recognize some of them from when I was a kid. Looks like Latin on the chalkboard. Yes, I'm taking pictures. Okay, back in the hallway, heading to the next room. Several minutes of silence. There's something really screwy about this place. I could swear the room was just a few feet away, but it feels like I've been walking for hours. Anyway, I'm here. We've got sleepers, 3 of them, 2 girls and a boy. They look to be around 14, 15. They're all wearing the same uniform. Yeah, just like you showed me. Hang on a minute while I take some pictures. At least we can figure out who they are. The furniture is pretty old looking, what's left of it. A lot of broken chairs and desks, nothing on the walls. Chalkboards, the hell? I'm not gonna believe this blank. It's got Agent Blank's notes up there, in her handwriting even. We're going to have to be really careful what we bring in here. Okay, doing end credit soundtrack, can you not? Gonna have to be really careful what we bring in here? Yeah, I've got pictures, don't worry. Okay, I'm gonna check one more room, then I'm out. Back in the hallway now, heading for the next room. Another anomaly. I've been going the same direction this entire time, but I'm back at the stairs. Yeah, I'm just gonna head down. I've had enough of this place for one day. I'll meet you at the door. The developed photos revealed redacted. Exploration log 02612, carried out remotely using a robotic drone via video feed. Exploring the first floor hallway. The hallway appeared in poor condition with graffiti on the walls. Comparison with previous videos shows that graffiti has changed. Many of the same signs were present but in different positions. Some seem new. Doors were uniformly spaced on the wall, some were intact, while others were cracked or missing entirely. First room in the hallway was the girls' bathroom. More graffiti on the walls. Several broken mirrors. A toilet had been removed from the wall entirely and placed in the center of the room. There's a great deal of porcelain and glass on the floor. The next room over was the boys' bathroom. This was skipped in favor of exploring the classrooms. The first classroom had no furniture. The chalkboard was broken in 2. On one side of the board there was a set of lines reading, "I will not pass notes during class, sick." The other side had fragments of a lesson on redacted. There was one poster on the wall depicting Helen Keller. The second classroom was well furnished and the largest number of intact desks to date, mostly made from wood and steel in a style used in the 1950s. There were 2 sleepers found that had not been reported in previous sweeps of the building. The first was a male teenager in a student's desk. Comparison with file 02604 revealed him to be blank blank, a former student of the school. He was reported missing 10 years after the school closed down at age 28. The other was a woman in her mid-30s sitting behind the teacher's desk. Her identity is still unknown. The chalkboard had a timeline of World War II overlaid with an intricate piece of graffiti. The third classroom had 15 particle board desks in various states of disrepair. A map on the back wall was consistent with the socio-political conditions of 1974. A bookshelf had collapsed and a spilled set of encyclopedias onto the floor. The robot was then guided to the end of the hallway and back to the entrance. There was no sign of spatial anomalies at this time. Exploration log 02615. Exploration conducted by Agent Blank, accompanied by a robotic drone. Okay, I'm in. Lobby looks like it always does, probably some graffiti drift. Here comes the robot. The lobby was compared to previous videos. Some differences in the graffiti were noted, otherwise no significant changes. I'm heading upstairs now. God damn, the robot's heavy. How much crap did you load on it? You could have warned me. Gonna rest a second on the second landing. Video coming in alright? Cool. First set of stairs was navigated without trouble. The second floor hallway appeared similar to the first floor hallway, though with less debris. I've caught my breath, heading up to the third floor. Wish there was a guardrail. Next time it might be easier to carry the robot and the gear separately, and load it in once it's up. The gear's pretty idiot-proof. I think I could probably figure it out. Damn thing must weigh over 100 pounds. There on the 3rd floor now. There, on the 3rd floor now. I count 12 doors. Weird spacing. That last door's gotta be at least 100 yards down. This place is pretty messed up. Well, whoever this agent is, they are very spatially aware. They're not freaking out or anything. Rangefinder showed the hallway was approximately 45 meters long. 5 doors on each side, evenly spaced, with 1 more door at the end of the hall. 11 total. I'm heading in. There's not as much graffiti up here. A bit of debris. I'm opening one of the doors, janitor's closet, and hey, we've got a janitor. He's sleeping standing up, that's new. Male, seems to be in his mid-50s. Name tag says blank. A couple old broomsticks. What's left of a mop? Looks like rats have been nesting in here. They've shredded one of his pant legs, but looks like they didn't touch the sleeper himself. What? You want samples? Sure, wouldn't be the weirdest thing I've picked up for this job. Okay, I think that's it. Comparison with file 0264 revealed the sleeper to be blank blank, former janitor in 026. Later analysis of the rat feces revealed redacted. Recommended future exploration teams wear biohazard gear. I bet it's a temporal anomaly rat feces, so it's probably just a ideological object of the rat feces. Or, you know, temporal anomaly rats, I guess. And they're just shitting out, like, infinite shit. You know, like, platonic object shit. So it's probably radioactive. Being a static object in a temporal phenomenon. Spatio-temporal phenomenon. Here's a classroom. No sleepers. Couple of desks intact. The rest looks pretty bad. Looks like someone took a sledgehammer to the place. No, wait, I stand corrected. Baseball bat. It's leaning against the corner. There's about half a case of beer here, full cans. Looks like they left in a hurry. Hey, get the robot to face the board. There's something I want you to see. It looks like Latin to me. Could be significant. Get someone to translate it. It might be a clue to what's gone down here. The Latin was found to be a series of sentences showing different conjugations of the verb vendere, to sell. All were found in Blank's Latin Primer, a textbook formerly used by the school. Was this like a college bad joke or something? The baseball bat was aluminum and analysis of the fingerprints was inconclusive. Okay, next classroom. Desks look fairly modern, 80s I'd guess. Chalkboard's got a quote from Nicholas Nickleby on it. Yes, I'm sure. It says right there on the board, the sun does not shine upon this fair earth to meet frowning eyes. Don't depend on it. Nicholas Nickleby by Charles Dickens. There's an apple on the desk. Looks fresh. I'm tossing it into the drone. Okay, I'm looking out the window. Hey, are you guys still out there? Because I see kids in the schoolyard. I don't see the van or any of you. Yeah, second classroom on the right. You see me? Weird. The apple appeared fresh on the video feed, however when removed from the samples bin, it was in an advanced state of decomposition. The drone's feed through the window showed the foundation van on the ground, and the research team looking up at the window. No children were seen in the schoolyard, so it's like humans perceive the anomaly more easily. Okay, you want me to head down the hallway? Alright. Let's see if I actually make it this time. Not holding out any hopes. Walking forward. It looks like 10 feet to the next door, which would actually put it in the last room, but who's counting? I'm still here, it's just farther than it looks. Feels like I've been walking at least a couple hours. I'm almost there. I'm just going to take a breather. Okay, this is wrong. I've stopped moving, but now I'm going backwards. The hallway is moving past me. Shit, I just saw the door move past me. I'm moving forward again. That's better. I guess it could be hallucinations, too. Okay, I'm almost there. One last dash and I should make it. And I'm back with a robot. I knew it wasn't going to work. There's no way to get there, I'm telling you. The video feed showed the next door was 30 feet away. The total elapsed time from one door to the next was 5 minutes, in which time Agent Blank meandered towards the end of the hallway. No anomalous activity was observed while he was standing still. When he neared the end of the hallway, Agent Blank turned around and quickly returned to the beginning of the hallway. So it's like the Bowser stairs in Super Mario 64. Okay, I hear you. I've got my eyes closed. I'm walking forward. Left. Got it. Going straight. Correcting left again. Correcting right now. Okay, this is going a lot faster. Okay, correcting right? Yes, right, I heard you. God damn it, I am going right. Okay, left? No, it is not the same direction. Look, if you think it's that easy, just send the robot in. The robot was able to reach the end of the hallway with no problems. So I guess the anomaly is sort of anchored with logic. Because a robot would probably be a less failure prone to like a psychic anomaly. Agent Blank attempted to follow, but was unable to keep a straight line to the end of the hallway. Just go ahead and send the bot in. I'm not going to try again until we have a better idea what's in there. Something's keeping me out of there. We should figure out what it is before anything else. Look, if you want to know that badly, go yourself or request some Class Ds. I'm not going in. Deal with it. At this point, the robot opened the door and crossed the threshold into another hallway, running perpendicular to the first, 30 meters in length. No doors were visible. A single window was observed, but was situated too high for the view outside to be visible. The walls were free of graffiti. The left was a dead end, while the right terminated in a left-hand turn. The robot turned right into the new hallway. After 10 meters, the unit's GPS showed it to be outside the building, though the video feed still showed the hallway. It continued to the end of the hallway and turned left. Agent Blank was just ahead at the beginning of the original hallway. Turning the camera behind the robot showed only the stairwell, with no sign of the second hallway. The unit's GPS showed it by Agent Blank's position at this time. So it is sort of like a non-Euclidean object that is controlled by logic. And I guess human interference sort of fucks with it a little bit. I see another classroom. I don't see the robot, though. I lost track after it went through the door. What do you mean it's outside? Did it go out through the window? Look, maybe the GPS is screwy. Calm down. What do you mean turn around? What the hell am I... Oh, fuck. Okay, that's enough. I'm calling it off for the day. We can come back after we get some Class Ds in here. I don't know how this guy got out. That's fucking crazy. Okay, which one was that? Interview log? That wasn't it, right? No. It was exploration logs, right? Yeah, okay. Let's see, the exploration logs for details. 026B, the contents of notepads, books, and pieces of paper have been observed to disappear, only to reappear on surfaces within 026. New writings have appeared, mostly drawn from graffiti or textbooks. Caution should be exercised in bringing documents onto the grounds of 026. Note 026C. Several Class D personnel exposed to 026 have disappeared from Foundation control, only to reappear inside the anomalous building. The subjects in question had previously complained of dreams identical to those experienced by Agent Malik. Update see interview log 02608. Okay. This one's kind of shorter. Appreciate it. I guess we will do 10 today, huh? Interview log 02608. Dr. Blank. Please have a seat. Agent Walker, thank you. Doctor, let's get down to business. I understand you're requesting a transfer out of fieldwork. Would you like to talk about that? Walker, I'd rather not. Doctor, it's your choice. However, I can't approve a transfer without reason. Walker, look, The agent paused here. You've seen my record. You know I worked on 26, right? Doctor, I've read the report. Walker, I was there the first time we took one of the sleepers out. A lot of them were adults when they disappeared, but they're kids again when we find them. So I see the 16-year-old boy just kind of shrivel away. I had nightmares that night. Doctor, you're supposed to report any unusual dreams after contacting a potentially mind-altering phenomenon. Walker, it hadn't been declared a mind screw yet. We just thought it was a weird space thing. We were just watching it until the picnickers got there, and it was a shock, you know? We weren't expecting anything like that. Anyway, I got over it quick enough. I'd seen worse. I once had a guy melt while I was holding on to him. Doctor, I see. What happened next? Walker, nothing for a while. I went in a couple of times, but didn't see anything too weird. But look, I know I should have reported it, but one of my buddies had just been disappeared after getting touched by some weird skip. That's a weird way of calling it. And I don't want it to happen to me. Doctor, you've been affected by an SCP? Walker, yeah, it was a week later. I was dozing in the back of the van, and I started dreaming. Doctor, can you describe this dream? Walker, just like the others, you've read the reports, right? Doctor, pretend that I haven't, for the record, Agent Walker. Walker, alright, I'm in a classroom. It's just like one of the ones in 026, but new, not falling apart. I knew the teacher's name. I knew who was sitting by me, even though I'd never seen most of them before. The bell started ringing, but no one moved. I raised my hand, but the teacher didn't notice. Finally, I tried to leave, but the door wouldn't open. Then I noticed something strange with my hand. It had color. Everything else was black and white. But I felt like I was the one who was wrong? Out of place? That's when I woke up. The van was leaving. No one else noticed I'd been asleep. Doctor, and you didn't think to report this? Walker, like I said, I was scared. And this was before they found Malik. I figured it was just another nightmare, nothing weird. And after Malik had his dream, well, they didn't do anything with him, so I figured it wasn't a big deal. Doctor, he was put on observation. You should have been as well, for your own safety, and for the safety of others. Walker, you paper pushers think it's all so easy, don't you? Sitting behind a desk all day, you don't know what it's like. Well, things aren't so clear out there, not when you're the one hunting talking cats in a sewer, or waiting to see if you're the one who's not going to come back this time. Walker was visibly distressed. It was several minutes before she calmed down enough to continue the interview. Walker, anyway, it wasn't until later that we connected the dreams with the sleepers, not until they found those Class Ds on the second floor. Still, I thought I might be okay. I wasn't actually inside 26 when I dreamed. I wasn't sure until the dream started. Doctor, you're having reoccurrences? Walker, yeah, they started 6 months ago. It's the same dream. But each time it takes me a little longer to notice it isn't real, and when I look at my hands, they're a little more gray. End of interview 02631. Note, Agent Walker has since been given Class A amnesiac and returned to fieldwork. Wow, that's one of the first times we see that early on, huh? Amnesiac, huh? So that was this one, right? Just making sure. Yeah, okay. Incident report 02612. During a routine security check of 026, Agent Malik was found unconscious by his partner, Agent Jones, in the main foyer. Initial attempts at rousing Agent Malik were ineffective, so he was moved for transportation to Site Double Blank. Upon leaving the grounds of 026, he woke abruptly in a state of agitation. When questioned, he revealed that he had been dreaming of a classroom setting. This dream has been consistent throughout all subjects who have fallen asleep within the grounds of 026. Okay. The Quantum School, I guess. Quantum Dream School. I feel like I've heard about this concept before, but like with layers of reality or something. Okay, 027. Item number 027. Object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. The host of 027, currently subject 02702, is to be kept in a 5 meter by 5 meter containment cell with a graded raised floor connected to a strong vacuum system. All creatures removed from the subject's containment cell are to be incinerated, except for a small portion to be diverted for analysis and necropsy. The cell is to be cleaned and inspected for structural damage daily. 02702 must be monitored by at least 2 personnel at all times. Any unusual behavior or vital signs on the part of the subject, or the appearance of any unusual species in the subject's vicinity must immediately be reported to Level 4 personnel. Security personnel assigned to 027 must be inoculated against all known animal-borne pathogens and must be armed with tranquilizer guns with standing orders to subdue the subject if the need arises. Until 027 is better understood, no personnel of level 4 clearance or higher should approach within 200 meters of the subject. So is this like a cognito hazard? Description: 027 appears to be a phenomenon of unknown source that seems to be tied to one human subject, currently 02702, at a time. As host to 027, subject 02702 is constantly surrounded by swarming vermin that are drawn to his location. The subject does not appear able to assert control over these creatures in any way, and is in fact prone to occasionally attacks from feral specimens. These creatures have also been known to attack personnel who approach too closely. Wherever the subject goes, an initial swarm of flying insects, such as gnats and flies, will start to form a cloud around him, usually within 2 to 3 minutes. Shortly thereafter, crawling animals, including lice, cockroaches, worms, spiders, data-expunged mice, and rats, will begin to appear. The longer the subject remains in a location, the more vermin will gather there. When the subject leaves a location, some of these creatures will follow, but most will disperse. 027 has been known to transfer between hosts once. Upon the death of the first known host, subject 02701, see Appendix 1 for more information. Since 027 could likely repeat this feat upon the death of subject 02702, all high-value personnel should be kept far away from the current host until more about 027 is understood. 027 has also likely transferred between hosts an unknown number of times before containment. Research into potential previous hosts has commenced, with preliminary evidence suggesting that 027 may have existed for at least triple blank years. It is not yet known how 027 chooses or attracts animals, or even what 027 exactly is. The previous host never expressed having any sort of communication with a separate conscious entity. Analysis of the current host has been inconclusive at best. Appendix 1, Timeline of Significant Events, 04 double blank 1990 single blank. Subject 02701 is discovered in an abandoned warehouse outside of blank blank that had been completely overrun by rats, cockroaches, and other vermin, and is contained and cataloged as 027. The subject is described as a Caucasian male in his late 30s, of average height but gaunt, filthy, and covered in bites and scratches. The subject also shows symptoms of degraded mental health, evidence of heavy use of alcohol and illicit drugs, and signs of prolonged sleep deprivation. 10 double blank 2000 single blank. Subject expires. Autopsy shows more than 70% of the subject's body. Data expunged. A colony of rats nesting in the subject's abdomen for at least double blank generations. So this guy's like the pestilence virus or something. The aura pestilence. 10 double blank 2000 single blank. Between 140 and 150 hours after the subject's death, Security Officer K blank F blank reports being awoken by breathing problems due to a large housefly having crawled up his nose, later shown to have laid eggs. Dude, I fucking love this song. Subsequent observations lead to categorization of Officer F as Subject 02702. The original host is reclassified as Subject 02701, and 027 is redefined. Data expunged. This is crystals from Mega Man and Pace. I thought this was Castlevania. Appendix 2. Transcript of interview 027201. The following interview was conducted 10 double blank 2000 single blank shortly after subject 02702 was identified and transferred to the containment cell that had housed subject 02701. Dr. Jameson. Good morning, Officer F blank. How are you feeling? Subject 02702. Scared, confused, mostly scared though. J. Understandable. S. And itchy. I feel like I need to shower all the damn time. J. But what about inside? Do you feel anything different inside you, like presence? S. Thinks, scratches his head. No, I don't think I do. I haven't really noticed anything like that. J. You haven't felt anything different since the original host died besides the itching? S. No, I can't say I have. J. What about any sort of voices or compulsions? S. Agitated. No, I haven't felt anything except bugs crawling all over me. I feel dirty and scared and... Doc, what about my family? You gotta get this thing out of me so I can see them again. J. Of course. Of course. We're going to do everything we can to get 027 out of you. God, I'm sorry, K. Blank. No, shortly after this interview took place, Dr. Jameson and several other members of the research team for 027 were transferred to the 1772 project. Okay, so we got 2 to look at now. What was that? Was that just exploration logs? What? What was this it? I'm getting so lost so easily, what? Huh? Hey, what? How did I do that? 02608 links to... No. What? I just closed that, of course. 026 exploration logs? How did I even get here? Oh my fuck. Okay, this is cross-linking a lot, so I'm just gonna move on. How did I get to that one? Fucking weird. Okay. Did I go back on accident? I think I went back. Yeah, tranquilizer guns, etc. How did I get linked to this, though? Okay. I see. Transferred to the 1772 project. Murine? That is a weird, nasty sounding word. Yeah, this cross-links to another one, so... I think I'll just leave that as is. We'll come back to this. We're getting cross-linked a little too much. Okay, here's 028. Item number 028, object class safe. Special containment procedures. No special means are needed to contain at this time, as 028 has not shown any change in size, position, or shape during the entire period of its containment, but access must be restricted. Currently, 028 is contained on site single blank, as 028 is not transportable by any known means. 028 is sealed in a 6 parentheses 6 by 6 parentheses 6 by 3 parentheses 3 meter 20 parentheses 20 by 20 parentheses 20 by 10 parentheses 10 foot concrete room with a single door with 2 parentheses 2 armed personnel stationed outside. Only authorized personnel are to be allowed exposure to 028, and extreme care must be taken at all times. While 028 is itself harmless, the effect can be very damaging to the unprepared. See document EL028-1125. Description: 028 is located in an abandoned storage yard outside a copper mine in northern Michigan. 028 has no detectable physical presence of any kind, but its effect occurs in a 2.1 meter, 7 foot cube around what is commonly held as the center of 028. All forms of scanning and testing in the area of 028 have shown no abnormal readings. Adding or removing objects or attempting to remove dirt from under 028 has no effect in altering the size or shape of 028's area of effect, nor the onset or quality of the effect. Subjects entering 028 are within 3 parentheses 3 to 6 parentheses 6 seconds struck by total and complete knowledge of a subject. Ooh, this is cool. This knowledge is thus far completely random in both size and usefulness, and sometimes goes unnoticed for extended periods of time. More profound knowledge generally has a stronger effect, with some cases expunged. See document EL028-1125. This effect can be experienced multiple times by exiting and re-entering 028, but can result in increasingly strong migraines and dizziness after 2 parentheses 2 exposures. So it's like free information. Free random information. 028 came to the Foundation's attention after research into news reports of a local miner who submitted a design for a cold fusion reactor to the U.S. Patent Office. Holy fuck. 028 came to the Foundation's attention after research into news reports of a local miner who submitted a design for a cold fusion reactor to the U.S. Patent Office. Mr. Blank reported that it just came to me like a bolt out of the blue. News and subjects were suppressed and contained after discovery of 028, and the reactor designs implemented in the containment of 1995. Subsequent testing of 028 has yielded mixed results. I disconnected from the internet, huh? That's to be expected. Ugh. Alright. Document EL028-1114. Partial information retrieval log for 1-5 double blank. Note all knowledge is perfect, total, and eidetic. Dot. Every phone book entry for New York City in 1998. Dot. How to redesign the internal combustion engine to run on human blood using only pre-existing parts. Note. Full redesign takes 4 hours and runs at higher efficiency than gasoline. Dot. Location of keys for a Buick LeSabre. Dot. The proper method of care for a mole rat colony. Dot. Origin and history of 12 SCP objects. Note. The main expunged. Dot. Family history of the Blackthorn family located in London, England. Dot. Geological structure of the Earth beneath Greenland, including several unknown caves, and expunged. Document number EL028-1125 log. E112, subject D1182, exposed to 028. Subject began to cry and went into fetal position, showing signs of high distress. Unresponsive to questioning and outside stimulus for several days, lapsed in catatonia shortly after stating that this is not life. Subject passed into a coma and died shortly thereafter. Cause of death was attributed to shock. E127 Agent Blank accidentally exposed to 028. Agent showed signs of sudden surprise and bemusement. When questioned, Agent requested a moment to gather my thoughts, please. After several seconds, Agent laughed, shook his head, and removed his service pistol from its holster. Agent then shot and wounded Dr. Blank and killed Agents Blank and Blank before being restrained. Post-incident interrogation revealed Agent Blank had extensive knowledge of classified Foundation activities and several SCP objects he had not been previously exposed to, including SCP-2669. So I'm just going to expose these really quick and then continue on. I mean, we've been seeing way too many cross-links today. Wait, okay, 1995 and 2669. So, here's this page. And what the fuck? Cool. Looks like fucking space travel or something. I don't know. Yeah, sun? Interesting. We'll come back to these someday. Any Foundation personnel found to have entered 028's area of effect are to be detained indefinitely. Document number EL028-1128 log. Experiment 189. Subject D9843 was exposed to 028. Quadruple blank 03-19-1146. Examination of subject revealed abnormal respiratory actions. Quadruple blank 03-19-1337. Questioning revealed subject had learned to recycle the carbon dioxide inside his body. Quadruple blank 03-19-17-21. Repeated attempts to teach skill to other D-class personnel failed. Quadruple blank 03-24-12-11. Subject terminated. Quadruple blank 07-18-15-03. Autopsy reveals no abnormal organ formations. Quadruple blank 07-18-18-37. Researchers notes Dr. blank blank. Seriously, how the hell did he do that? Typical of the Foundation to kill somebody with important knowledge. Okay, let's just move on. 029, here's the page for it. Again, another cross-link. I'm glad I'm just reading this sequential for now. 029, item number 029, object class Keter, Special Containment Procedures 029 is to be incarcerated in a Class 5 containment cell. She is to be allowed access to nothing of a physical nature. Her containment cell is to be placed behind a triple airlock to avoid her escape. As of Incident 02934A, 029 is no longer to be fed, as she does not appear to need sustenance to survive. There are to be 3 guards on duty at all times on her cell, and 2 guards on monitor duty. Floodlights have been installed in the walls of the containment chamber and are to be on at all times. Once a month, the chamber is to be cleaned and checked for defects. Under absolutely no circumstances are any men to encounter 029 in any manner. Any males who do encounter 029 are to be held under Class 3 detention for interviewing before termination. 029 has requested, a bed, denied, a blanket, denied, books, denied, clothes, denied. This is ridiculous. The girl can't even have clothes? We're not animals. Let her cover herself. Dr. Erica Bodine. Dr. Bodine, you are granted permission to deliver clothes to 029, Dr. Light. As of Incident 02953B, anyone who has potential access to 029 is required to first watch surveillance tape 029 Bodine as a reminder of threats involved with working with SCP items and 029 in particular. Description: 029 appears to be a pubescent female of Asiatic Indian descent. She appears to suffer from alopecia universalis. Over 80% of her pigmentation is a true black, while the rest of her skin has a complete lack of melanin, to the point of albinism. Her eyes are also a dark black in color. 029 has severe homicidal tendencies and has displayed a remarkable ability to use any item as a weapon. However, she has a severe compulsion against shedding blood, preferring instead to strangle her victims. 029 has demonstrated dexterity and physical reactions 4 times as fast as the average human. 029 has also displayed an extensive resistance to damage of all forms. Both of these extra human abilities are greatly hampered in the presences of bright or direct light, natural or artificial. In addition, any males who come within the presence of 029, an area defined by her current perception, find themselves pliant to her will. Such males will become willing to kill or even die for 029. 029 refers to herself as blank, which roughly translates to Daughter of Darkness, Daughter of Shadows, or Daughter of Night. Interviews with 029 have proven difficult to conduct due to 029's constant attempts to kill or convert all who speak with her. Over her years of captivity, the black patches on her skin have increased in size. 029 was first brought to the Foundation's attention by an agent working in rural India. An attempt on his life led him to a small cult of men who claimed to be thuggees in service to the daughter. Several weeks of investigation proved that they believed the world to be in the last years of the Kali Yuga, and that by sacrificing 1 million lives to the Daughter of Darkness, they could raise their goddess and end the world. I also believe that only sacrifices performed through strangulation added to this tally. Events led the agent to their mounted fortress, where he discovered 029. After the loss of said agent, data expunged, which it ended in our acquisition of 029. Addendum 7 years after capture, 029 began showing anomalous growth in her black pigmentation. When questioned about it, she claimed her followers were on the move once more. So it's sort of like intention-based growth in this entity's consciousness, which consciousness meaning mind over matter in this person, since they are like of superhuman characteristics. I guess truly she does have some Asura Deva quality where her followers do convert the, I guess, life force of those they kill through strangulation. So it probably is true. She acquires quote-unquote loosh, or, mental energy over these deaths. So she truly probably does have some sort of world-ending ability. After discovering that all her followers were there for one of their holy days. Wait. When questioned about... Okay. Investigation led us to a concentration of so-called thuggies that had escaped our initial foray. After discovering that all her followers were there for one of their holy days, a tactical airstrike was called in. When the first bomb dropped, 029 awoke from slumber screaming at the top of her lungs. 029 continued to scream for the next 4 hours, ranting and raving that we were killing her people. Since said event, the growth of black pigmentation has stopped completely. Also since said event, 029 has redoubled her efforts to escape. 2820 has been proposed as a possible method of neutralization should the situation worsen. So yeah, it's sort of like a collective consciousness movement, producing force type of thing. I'm just going to scroll through this really quick and let's move on. Okay, SCP-030. Very nice, very nice. Let's end this off tonight, shall we? On a banger. 030, item number 030, object class safe. Special containment procedures. 030 is to be held at Site-17 within a modified humanoid containment cell. Minor adaptations to accommodate its stature, such as appropriately scaled workspace and chair, are to be included. Lighting within the cell may be altered upon request of 030 to a maximum of 2000 lumens via a simple dimmer switch. Should the need to render 030 inert arise, staff may extinguish the lighting from the exterior switch and draw blackout curtains as necessary. Standard night vision equipment is available for observation of 030 in its inert state. 030 may request materials for personal research every 90 days. All previously requested materials are to be collected and destroyed prior to delivery of new materials. All materials are to be evaluated and screened by both research and security staff. 030 is to be denied access to any modern scientific journals or texts, and fiction is to be restricted to works produced no later than 1623 CE to preserve the integrity of its innate knowledge. CE. Staff wishing to consult with 030 in writing are to place a formal request, document number 030-RS/B, with the supervising researcher on duty. All correspondence is to be retained. Staff wishing to consult with 030 in person are to submit a formal request to site management. Documents 030-RP/A 17030/A, at least 30 days prior to their preferred consultation date. All consultations are to be recorded and retained. Senior research staff may request 030 be temporarily removed from its containment for a maximum of 1 hour to provide observational insight into non-restricted materials or events within Site-17. Under no circumstances is 030 to leave the confines of Site-17. Requests must be presented in person to site management and security staff at least 30 days prior to their preferred observational release date. All observational release events are to be recorded and retained. 030 has been equipped with a tracking device, Inventory Control Code 030-17-1, so its location within Site-17 may be determined precisely at any time. Description: 030 appears as a hairless, genderless, gray-toned human, 71 centimeters, 28 inches in height, and weighing 12.70 kilograms, 2 British stone in antiquated measure. Its solid blue eyes lack discernible irises or pupils and resemble small-cut sapphires. 030 possesses an androgynous voice with a pronounced English accent not currently identifiable as specific to any modern region. It is able to converse, read, and write in ancient Greek, Latin, Italian, English, Spanish, and Portuguese, as well as two additional languages that have not yet been identified, despite 030's insistence that they should be common knowledge. 030 has also demonstrated knowledge of physics, chemistry, astronomy, mathematics, and horticulture roughly equivalent to that of a 17th century CE Academic. In addition, O30 has demonstrated knowledge on these topics along research lines that do not appear in the historical record. These alternative or entirely unknown approaches to research in the natural sciences are one source of O30's utility and consultation. O30 remains active while a 15 lumen source of light or greater is within 1.5 meters, 5 feet. In the absence of light, O30 becomes inert, apparently losing consciousness and showing no outward signs of life. Within 5 to 10 seconds of being re-exposed to light, O30 becomes active once more, appearing to come out of a light slumber no matter how long the period of inactivity has been. O30 does not appear to require these periods of inactivity as a human would require sleep, and has expressed a desire to remain active as often as possible. Biopsy analysis of O30 remains inconclusive. While clays native to the English counties of Kent, Surrey, and Greater London make up the majority of its structure, traces of mandrake, Mandragora officinarum, lye, mercury, and human blood have been found in each sample taken. So this might be another example of a golem. O30 has expressed that a full exploratory surgery to determine its workings would potentially end its existence. Samples removed from O30 do not regenerate, and sampling is currently discontinued to preserve its integrity. Although O30 can be damaged, it does not appear to feel pain, and will simply remold any portion of its anatomy that experiences deformation. Notably, O30 cannot be molded directly by human hands, though any number of tools may be used to alter its surface. O30 does not respirate, requires no sustenance, and produces no waste, although it does infrequently request a bath. O30 refers to itself as Ariel, and regularly requests that staff do the same. Questions regarding how O30 was created and by whom are routinely answered with the seemingly rote statement, "I have been asked to forget that bit of information. Terribly sorry." So yeah, definitely some golem mechanics going on here. O30 delivers this response in the same tone and cadence each time any question regarding its origins or creator are presented. Given its composition and location of origin, a link to the alchemists of Alagada is suspected. 2264. Finding balance. Interesting. Well, this doesn't cross-link. I might read this one. I didn't mean to close that. I wanted to, peek it really quick. Hold on. Okay, here's 2264. Why does the website look different? The fuck? Okay. O30 was discovered 612 quadruple blank during a mandatory archaeological survey within London's Mortlake district, pending construction of a car park. It was buried approximately 2.7 meters, 9 feet below street level, contained in a small stone sarcophagus. The sarcophagus bore no markings and was assumed to be that of a deceased infant, as additional graves were discovered in the survey area. The sarcophagus lid was shattered during the excavation, exposing O30 to sunlight. Upon being struck by the sun's rays, O30 roused from its inert state to one of mild activity within a few seconds, stating "Good afternoon" to the assembled construction team. A member of the Foundation's Greater London Recon Force was summoned within hours and took the specimen into custody without resistance. The limited number of witnesses were given amnestics and released. And then Addendum 1, document O30C, security logs for SCP-030. (914) quadruple blank, tracking system installed for O30. 1221. O30 reports malfunction of its own tracking system. Repairs completed within 6 hours. O30 offers to assist but is refused for security purposes. 313. O30 completes 18-week scimitar on unknown language Alpha Zephyr. 5 staff researchers considered fluent. Lexicography transmitted to 05 single blank. 7.2. While in consultation, researcher blank inadvertently makes several remarks regarding photovoltaic technology. Consultation ended before the researcher can substantially elaborate. 8.12. O30 requests a supply of magnesium and indicates it intends to ignite samples to study the light produced. Request denied by researchers, so it wants to self-power. That was 8.12, by the way. 11.14. Incident 031. Using only what appears to be standard potting soil, ginger, Zingiber officinale, a 72-gram sample of rutilated quartz, and a 23-centimeter length of coiled copper wire, O30 produces an object/device capable of emitting notable levels of directed ultraviolet light through unknown means. Device is confiscated. Effects not currently replicable without direct intervention from O30. Researchers currently in consultation to determine if this line of O30's research will be permitted to continue. It is speculated O30 may be working towards an alternative and possibly anomalous manifestation of the photoelectric effect, after receiving only minimal information regarding its existence. All research by O30 suspended and materials removed pending review. Alright, let's read the finding balance log for O30. Linked via alchemy. Finding balance. And thus the ethers shall be in balance. The 5 ethers are the foundations of practical alchemy and must always be respected. Some call them elements, others eidolons, and other more esoteric names. The ethers, however, are the pure elemental forces of the universe. Air, earth, fire, water, electricity. Aerinus, terrinus, igneous, aqueous, and fulminous. Respect the ethers and they will serve well. Excerpt, Practical Alchemy by R. Diaghilev. Ruslav Diaghilev woke to the sound of the cosmos rushing in his ears. That and the liquid clock that was gifted to him for his birthday last year. So O30 sounds kind of like an experiment in alchemy rather than chemistry or physics or whatnot. It is like a sub-science. He blinked the bleary sleep from his eyes and sat up into the cold autumn morning. The first inklings of light were slipping through the windows as he swung his feet out and over the edge of the bed. Across the room, faintly glowing liquids burbled happily in their decanters. Soft orange and blue light emanated from several tubes, rushing around the apparatus with merry abandon. He rose with a grunt, shuffling towards the laboratory on the other side of the room, while reaching out to touch the series of activation studs on the wall for the muted amber overhead lighting. He smiled as the orbs slowly winked to life, the deep amber light turning the room from shadows to a world of deepest bas relief. As the light spread across his workbench, the familiar sights of numerous notebooks, fragments of recipes, and formulae appeared before him. His chalkboard, covered in his heavy angular script, shone with the faint sheen of recently erased chalk. Reaching out with one tired hand, Ruslav turned the activation knob for the burner underneath the faintly glowing blue liquid, causing it to bubble higher and the overflow to slowly drip into the brown liquid in the largest decanter. He agitated the mixture with a glass rod while chanting quietly in a language that few knew and fewer still dared to utter. As he chanted, the mixture turned from a dark brown to a light brown with a golden sheen. So like quantum mnemonics, I guess, or I guess sort of like the same concept of talking to your plants as you raise them. I guess with alchemy or protochemistry, this is how part of the process of manipulation of this type of alchemy. He smiled and turned the knob, allowing some of the liquid to flow into an earthenware jug. He raised the vessel to his lips and a smile spread over his face as the liquid passed through his mouth and down into his stomach. "I've finally done it," counteracted the erroneous ether. "Finally, it tastes like coffee." He felt the fatigue and discomfort of waking so early washing away as the filter took its effect. Ruslav Dyagilev, alchemist of the Seventh Circle, looked out of his windows across the snow-laden scene from his cabin. He nodded, taking another sip of the mixture before replacing the jug on the table. Alchemy, like any other science, has laws, rules. These laws and rules may bend from time to time, but they are as indelible as physics. While the physical sciences may be more practically applicable, the simple need for the containment of alchemical anomalies requires special attention to the alchemic arts. Excerpt The Sealing Way, M.R. Tissart, first historical mention of anomalies. Hours later, R. Dyagilev, as his name tag so helpfully proclaimed him, sat hunched in his car in the line to get into Site 79. The snow had started to fall faster now, and Ruslav sighed in frustration. The snow always caught in the hem of his robes. The line to get into the site was unusually long due to the weather, and his heater wasn't as strong as it used to be. A few minutes passed, and Ruslav came to the front of the line and presented his credentials to the security personnel at the gate. He pulled up, looking the man in the eye and catching the hint of a smirk on his face. The guard took the card and scanned it before handing it back. "Thank you, please proceed." Ruslav suppressed a sigh at the grin on the security guard's face. He was well used to the stares and the questionable deference he had from his colleagues. He pulled into his parking spot and got out of his car, cursing under his breath. At the snow on the floor of the parking structure, he brushed a small spot away and counted his steps before reaching 88, then reciting a quiet formula. Formulae? Whatever. A junior researcher stared at him as he did, nearly breaking his concentration. The researcher may not have thought much of Ruslav's robes, but the snow never quite reached them after his recitation. He smiled to himself and said a thanks to the erroneous ether for its assistance. He walked through the halls, the quiet swish of his robes at odds with the hard clack of the researcher's shoes, and the quiet clicks of high heels. His own shoes were made of rubber, properly made in accordance with the ancient formulae many years ago. They were bright purple, and the shoes themselves were poorly stitched. But he was an alchemist, not a cobbler. They were warm, waterproof, silent, and earned him the nickname Grapefoot from his college companions. He settled into his office with a quiet sigh and pulled his phone out of the recesses of his robes, plunging it into his computer to charge. He muttered a thank you to the fulminous ether and a curse to Apple for short battery life. The office was functional, covered in few workbenches, one of which contained a simple decanter reduction system. The only other door in the office led to the lab, connected to his colleague's office as well. The drab concrete walls fit Ruslav's personality perfectly, and he smiled at the calendar beside his desk. There were cats on it. Ruslav settled into his workstation to go over morning emails. There was always some bureaucratic nonsense to deal with at the Foundation. And so it has come to us, the wise, to protect the world. The Foundation is our best chance to seal off the influence of the entities for all time. As such, I propose that we take action once and for all, create the Great Seal, and for all time prevent such incursions into our reality. Excerpt, a call to action, R. Dyagilev. As the 12th hour of the day arrived, Ruslav's stomach rumbled with hunger, and he put down the report on a filter of molasses, with which some famous American had used to attain immortality. He left a few final scribbles on his notes for now and stood up, stretching his broad shoulders with a yawn. He started his way toward the cafeteria with slowly creeping fatigue. The filter from this morning had to be wearing off. He hoped quietly to himself that he made enough to last a few weeks at least. That particular convergence wasn't likely to happen for a very long time. So presumably this is a scientist at the Foundation, with proper clearance, who is an alchemist, like a proto-chemist physicist, who is working on, perhaps, the Philosopher's Stone? As he walked along, he spotted Dr. Collins walking towards the cafeteria, and waved slightly. The doctor looked over and smiled, waiting for Ruslav to catch up, before they walked in tandem towards the cafeteria. "It's good to see you, Ruslav. Have a good weekend?" Ruslav nodded and smiled at Dr. Collins. "Yes, my filter finally came into the proper solution this morning. I was very happy to say that it worked without any difficulty." Ruslav took a left turn towards the cafeteria, the sounds of conversation filling the off-white hallways. Yeah, my presumption is he originally synthesized the Philosopher's Stone in liquid, but he wanted it to, I don't know, be more to his taste? And that was the golden coffee tasting mixture, I guess, the filter. They joined a small crowd on the escalators up to level 3, to the cafeteria. It opened out into the expansive and tastefully decorated cafeteria level. They had remodeled recently, the dark glass looking out over fields of snow-covered grass. The dark tile of the floor complemented the subtle burgundy of the walls, all colors Ruslav found pleasing. Dr. Collins smiled at Ruslav as they walked towards the serving area. "Congratulations, Ruslav. I had hoped it would happen soon. Is this the same super coffee you were discussing before?" Dr. Collins got into the line for the hot buffet and grabbed a tray, loading up a couple of plates with his usual starchy fare. Man, this is making me hungry. He had gained a few pounds recently, stress eating due to a recent project. Ruslav grabbed his own tray, loading it up with a mix of vegetables, a light salad, and a large piece of some pink fish pretending to be salmon. Well, I can tell who the author favors here. Yes, I'm happy to say it works properly. This morning was significantly easier. He grabbed up a small tray of cookies, his one indulgence, and headed to the top of the line. Dr. Collins flashed his ID to pay for his lunch, and Ruslav did the same, the two of them heading for an empty table nearby. Several other researchers waved to Dr. Collins, and the two sat down, digging into lunch with abandon. The other tables were rapidly filling up, but Ruslav and Dr. Collins had one of the smaller round tables to themselves. His dark brown robes stood out from the white-coated researchers, but they did every day. They made small talk for a few minutes before a young researcher stepped up to their table, looking eager and bright-eyed. "Dr. Collins, I was hoping I could ask you a few questions about the new research topics you had suggested last week." Dr. Collins looked up and quickly swallowed the bite he was chewing through. "Of course, Daniel. This is Ruslav Diaghilev, one of the members of the Alchemy Division." Ruslav looked up to meet the eyes of the young man, displaying the usual mix of confusion and surprise. "How do you do, young man?" Ruslav held out one large hand, shaking the younger man's hand firmly. "Ah, good. It's nice to meet you, Dr. Diaghilev," Daniel said a little too fast, not particularly covering up his confusion very well. I can see the confusion here. In terms of science, physics, and chemistry, alchemy is considered to be sort of an outdated but valid mechanic. So I can see a fellow researcher being confused, if not many researchers, but it's good to know the Foundation has their own alchemy division. Very cool. "I am not a doctor, but I understand the confusion. Mr., or if you're being very formal, Elder is the appropriate title." He tried to hide this grimace as the usual look of incredulity passed over the young man's features. Dr. Collins looked over at Ruslav and quirked his head. "If I heard right, you guys are getting a new hire today, unless Jameson was talking out his ass again." He scooped up his last bite of pasta and leaned back. Ruslav's eyebrows raised, the deep lines on his face creasing. "New hire? I wasn't aware we were getting new apprentices anymore. I hadn't realized anyone could even feel the currents anymore," he thought to himself. "Well, I have to consult my colleagues, so I assume he's referring to, like, the currents of ether or something. You know, the alchemical matrix, I guess you could call it." Dr. Collins rose, escorting Daniel away. "Till next time, Ruslav, enjoy your studies." And so our alchemy divisions shall henceforth be tasked with the sealing and secrecy of initiative redacted. All knowledge of alchemy shall be discredited. All maintenance of the seals, circles, and other alchemical devices shall be trusted to R. Diaghilev and M. Adebayo, directors of the Alchemy Division. Excerpt 05 Council Plan of Action number redacted. So I guess the validity of alchemy is so strong that they feel it must be foundation only and very, very hush-hush. The quiet walk back to his office was uneventful. Upon reaching his door, he heard a quiet tingling, a soft sound like water upon a starlit lake. He closed his eyes, growing lost in the sound, the aqueous ether speaking to him in the deepest language the universe offered. It was soon a convergence. Okay, synchronicities are coming through or something. He would be able to access both the aqueous and the erroneous. It was finally time to begin the next steps in his processes. So I guess he took the filter of presumably Philosopher's Stone, Soma, or I don't know, just solution. Whatever other formal term synonym would be for it. I can't think of the other. And he's now moving through the processes of alchemy with his mind-body, I guess? So he is really like working with an elemental synchronicity or something. Alchemy synchronicity. He hurried to the lab where his only colleague, Elder Adebayo, stood. His coal black skin a stark contrast to the, if he was honest with it, tacky milk-white robes he wore all the time. The walls of the lab were unlike any other room in the site. From top to bottom, copper chisels had been used to inscribe it with formulae of containment, order, and protection. Ruslav and Adebayo had prepared this room over 16 painstaking months, using various convergence events and stored ether where necessary. This room was the alchemical equivalent of a bomb shelter, and the only place they dared to work any significant research. The walls were lined with tables containing several decanter reduction systems, wind flow apparatus, a few burners, and even a fine earth separator. Mounted on one wall was a solid wooden holder, which contained two heavy croziers, one of brass and wood belonging to Adebayo, the other of cold iron and lead belonging to Ruslav. Across from the crozier stand was a set of 3 concentric circles set in the floor. The first was polished inscribed copper, the second was cold iron, the last was the finest and most delicate gold. The materials for the last circle had been transmuted from pure ether to common lead, then to gold. So yes, they're practicing alchemy in like a, alchemical stage. You felt it too, Ruslav. The rich syllables of the third language flowed from his lips, his mellifluous accent blending perfectly with the interplay of light and dark in the phonemes. His hands spread over the wind flow measures and pinwheels on his desk. He felt the swirling currents as he hurried to the equipment along the wall. He adjusted several knobs, and the liquids began to bubble, already taking on a soft glow. Of course I felt it. Where are you in the harness of the erroneous? Adebayo's specialty lay in the erroneous ether, and Ruslav would be significantly more comfortable in the aqueous. So just describing elemental awareness and categories that they fit into. Adebayo's hands spread slightly as he switched to the second language, approaching the beginnings of the true language quickly. I am almost there. Could you bring me the circle of erroneous binding? Ruslav nodded and picked up a copper circlet, inscribed with various symbols occult organizations had cribbed from ancient alchemists in centuries past. This is a reference to alchemy being very hard to research. We're going to renew the 13th seal this time, yes? Ruslav placed the circlet on Adebayo's head, crowning his shaved scalp. Yes, the creature made a noise a few months ago, and we need to make sure it's held. The seal is almost in the fullness of its shape. With this we can... A sudden crack of ether sped through the lab, disrupting the energies shaped by the words of the second language. The fulminous ether surged quickly, pushing back against the ritual motions and words. So they're trying to do a ritual to summon this seal, and I guess The ether behind this is so powerful that it's easy to release. From the currents of the unseen, a laughing sound could be heard. Accompanying the electric energy of the fulminous ether was an empty feeling. The feeling of chaining and binding, of energies reflected and amplified. So I believe this is some sort of reality manipulation. It's not just sealing alchemy, it's more of a directing probabilities and, like, you know, wave functions and whatnot. Ruslav knew that feeling well. The laughter echoed in the paths of his memory. As his eyebrows narrowed, his teeth were setting in a snarl. Also a bit of samskaras there, like the primal laugh. Just going back in psychohistory, I guess you could say. The Scarlet King was bucking his seal and attempting to push back against Ruslav and Adebayo. So I guess primal deity here. Ruslav's hands blurred as he drew the simple iron circle from the space under his lab desk and tossed it into the air. His hands spread as he began to chant in the first language, one step removed from the true language. So I guess the concept of just speaking in, like, perfect Tao. Perfect tautology. The iron circle stayed suspended in the air for a moment before bouncing and landing on its side, slowly spinning around on its side. Adebayo's head burst into sweat, and the ethers compressed. As the ethers compressed, they were pushing back. I do not know how long. His words were strained now, the second language's powers being stretched to their limits. So presumably third, second, and first being closer and closer to true Tao speech in alchemy terms. Ruslav's voice rang out like thunder and he pulled his hands to his sides, his fists clenched. You will not disrupt our work today. I push you back to whence you are. Begone, Scarlet King. With a sudden crack of thunder, the building energies flowed into the iron circle, grounding harmlessly into the hand-forged iron. The laughter turned into a snarling sound of pain, as the chains around the entity went taut again, pulling it tight. All went quiet except for Elder Adebayo's chanting. Several minutes passed as Ruslav's breath came back to him. The effort required to banish the fulminous ether gathered by the Scarlet King to push against their ritual had been staggering, but he'd forced it into the circle at last, the energies contained within the ring of purified metal. Shaped by hand, with the right rituals, nothing could break it in the ether. So again, the idea of platonic objects, completely immortal, immutable, unbreakable states of being for things. Only a mortal hand could undo the energies stored there now, and even then they would need to be significantly gifted in the art. Once again, referring to primal alchemy. Ruslav struggled over to the lab desk and put his hands to work on the aqueous harness for the ritual. The waters and filters bubbled as he spoke quietly in the second language, his words blending with Adebayo's and forming a harmonious chorus. The energies of the ether poured into the small vial of purified water, creating truly elemental water. He held it gingerly between two fingers and brought it to Adebayo's station. Elemental water. This will reinforce the seal perfectly. Did you get yours? He held up a small pinwheel, brightly colored like a child's toy. The ultra-fine inscriptions on the blades were near invisible to the naked eye. It spun slowly with small air currents flowing around it. Of course, Elder, I will perform the ritual tonight. Our colleagues in Vienna and Casa Verde should have the fire and earth required. So again, just the idea of gathering elements, utilizing ether in whatever implementation possible. Clearly they're using purified handmade metals here though, so this is a very important alchemy experiment. A quiet knock on the door drew both of their attention to the small crowd of onlookers. Several of them had hands over their mouths, trying not to laugh. Ruslav's heart dropped. They couldn't feel a single thing of what just happened. To them, it was two old men screaming at nothing and pantomiming. What? He growled, his hands shaking with exhaustion, and his mind filled with annoyance. Your new hire is here. Mike sent me to get you, Mr. Diaghilev. Ruslav narrowed his eyes. It was the young man from lunch, Daniel. He sighed heavily. Of course, thank you. He shuffled off silently, his shoes completely silent. The last thing he heard was Daniel's voice under his breath. What's up with the purple shoes? Purple means royalty usually in alchemy, so I guess he truly is the elder here. Why do we keep these people around? I know we're all about the anomalous, but there's no way these guys are for real. They're just wasting Foundation resources. The amount of money they spend on raw copper is absurd. Excerpt. Email from Site Director redacted. The rumors were true then. Ruslav turned and headed towards the front gate, nodding at the various doctors, security staff, and administrative staff as he passed. Most of them didn't give him odd looks anymore. A few flights of stairs, which were getting harder, and muttered thanks to the ethers at the correct times, brought him to the front desk, where a nervous-looking young man stood in the lobby of the site along with Mike. Mike was giving him an odd look with a hand on his hip, near to his baton. The reception area looked fairly plain. There was a desk behind which Mike sat, and a row of chairs along two walls which visitors were seated in. The drab taupe walls stood out slightly from the off-brown carpet across the floor. Two men looked at Mike and the young man with careful attention, interested in what was taking place before them. The magazines they'd been reading were tossed back on the table between the two sets of chairs. The waiting room always reminded Ruslav of a doctor's office waiting area. I'm telling you, son, I can't let you bring unapproved weapons into the site. His eyes were locked on the glass and silver crozier in his hand, the twin snakes of Asclepius. What is this, fucking Hermes? Ruslav smiled as his eyes hesitated for a moment over the young man's robe of royal blue. Again, in alchemy, royal blue typically refers to godhood or emperors, so very fitting. Unpretentious, functional, and yet tastefully traditional. Perhaps there was hope yet. He held up a hand up to Mike. That's not a weapon. It's not a weapon, Mike. It's a crozier. Alchemist tools. He's all right. Mike looked over at Ruslav and nodded after a moment. He sat back down at the office chair in front of the monitors. The young man couldn't see, but the two waiting patrons relaxed as well. MTF members took threats and potential threats seriously. I am Ruslav Diaghilev, alchemist of the... Ruslav started, his voice tired and heavy, expecting very little of the young man in front of him. 7th Circle, yes sir. I was recommended to study under you by Alan Barnett of the 5th Circle. He said you were the best and one of the last practical appliers of the art. The clear Barcelona accent on his English lisped a few of his S's, but he was reasonably understandable. Ruslav narrowed his eyes and switched to a form of Proto-Etruscan, the 8th language. Closer to the true language, but still distant enough for conversation. And how trained are you, young man? Do you know the vagaries of the art? Have you been initiated? The young man hesitated and his head drooped slightly. He attempted to speak as well. I am to be not practiced in the art, as one such as you to be, my... He attempted to pronounce the name of the language poorly. It is not very good, I'm sorry. Etruscan? Ruslav smiled and nodded, switching back to English. You're more than a dabbler, young man. What is your name? Arturo Genuomo, sir, he said with a deep bow, which shook the backpack slightly on his frame. Ruslav's face split into one of the first genuine smiles of the day as he took notice of the equipment on his pack, which marked him as a student of the aqueous ether. Welcome to the site, Arturo. Please walk with me. He turned and silently walked off. Arturo's odd purple shoes an exact match of his own. So two of royalty now. As I told you, they're not frauds. I've witnessed what they can do firsthand. And the O5 Council says they're necessary. You've seen the budget allotments for the alchemy division, and it's not like we haven't encountered alchemical SCP objects. Just give them one chance, Jim. Excerpt. Email from Dr. Collins in response to Site Director redacted. That was a reference to the Scarlet King, too, which is very, very far back. Well, that was Finding Balance. I'm sure this is more on alchemy, we could check this again. I'm sure something cross-links to this, though. See here, the Scarlet King. So, yeah, we'll probably cross-link back to this or just check it out again sometime soon. But yeah, dude, thank you very much for stopping by, checking me out, reading some SCP Foundation Wiki tonight. It has been an absolute fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, it's pretty fucking late, and I'm just ready to end it for tonight. So, again, thank you very much for stopping by and watching me stream this. I hope you enjoyed the read-along, and I look forward to doing more of this for you in the future. So again, thanks for watching, and before you go, please click the About section on Twitch. Go ahead and drop a follow on the Twitch channel. Click the YouTube icons, or, over in the About section, there's also formal links. Go subscribe to the YouTube channels. And while you're at it, go follow the Twitter, go join the Discord. And that's gonna do it for me, homies. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.